Because if not, I'm just gonna pre-order it. Because the only reason I buy anything digitally nowadays is if it comes with shit.
Can I show you guys, like, this is from one of her like expressions. So can I just say that's adorable? She's adorable.
Let's see.
Shook art.
Product information.
Oh shoot! BG Bootcamp is doing Xanath's Snap Show. Hopefully it's not that. Sure, hold on. So yeah, B-Boy, I got 22 villains. Okay, 21 villains. Minus.
So were you gonna just have a giant honorable mentions list and make things longer?
And a global favorite list. So I was gonna go ahead and put I got my top.
Bro, it's just a top 8, man.
It's a top 8, but there's my global number 1. It's gotta be my global number 1.
Yeah, and obviously it's not cross-platform, so you're gonna be Switch, you're gonna fight Switch. You're gonna be PS4, you're gonna fight PS4. You're gonna be Steam, you're gonna be fighting Steam.
Okay, so for a second, like I know you're talking about Melty, but you said that after he said he had a global favorite villain. So at first I was like, wait, do you mean like villains are like platform exclusive?
Well,
you have to have your
like,
global favorite villain, and then your favorite PS4 villain, and then your favorte Switch
Bro,
villain.
this is like the best villain. This is like the best villain that he's so good that he couldn't be on that all the other people would be outshone for this number 1 guy. Honestly.
So then why wouldn't they be your number 1?
These two, he's like, okay, have you ever played Poke?
What, he's like banned?
He's Meta Knight tier. He's too good to be on the list.
He's Meta Knight tier.
He's too good to be.
He defines the meta of villainy. Too good. We need to remove him.
Okay, hold on.
Oh my gosh.
I could say it right now, honestly. Like right now.
Well, I mean, you could just save it for the list, but I could do our introduction. I was just gonna make sure that everyone is here, because is Alex joining us or no? Because he asked about it like he was gonna make a list. Do y'all know?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Probably will.
Like I said, I was only going to be here for the first start, drop my list, and dip.
Yeah, so I guess I might as well just go ahead and just start.
Alright.
Hold on a second. Oh, well, there's Daniel. Howdy.
Number 1 villain on my list is B-Boy Sonic, always asking people to freaking pre-reg. I am.
Dang. I'm really Senkow's villain like that?
No, just kidding. I was trying to sub.
Howdy. Well, I was gonna say, if you or anyone else in the Butter Squad has a list, you can feel free to make it on the fly.
No.
Or just come and chill.
I got that one guy from the game.
The game.
See, that is the real villainy, because he makes you lose.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
I got Manchester United when I played them in FIFA 20.
That's a pretty good pick, not gonna lie.
And then I got that one guy from the Call of Duty game.
There's probably multiple.
That one you're gonna need to be a little more specific.
Oh, I'm kidding.
And then I got the
God dang,
Padres on MLB The Show 21. What else?
My number 1 villain is the Comrade Commissar in the opening mission of Call of Duty 2, who tells you potatoes are worth more than your life.
And then
It's kind of deep, man.
the Los
I sat
Angeles
there and I
Lakers.
was like, how could he say that?
And then I got the Los Angeles Lakers and NBA 2K21.
I was gonna say, the fact that you remember specific teams and specific people in all these sports games is kind of impressive and concerning.
Well, the thing is, once you've been wronged by something, you don't forget it.
Exactly.
I mean, that makes sense.
Alright.
Like,
I guess I should probably segue into our introduction with that.
Right.
I mean, howdy, whoever's watching. I don't know how many of you play sports games or anything in general.
I do.
But welcome to tonight's Shenanigans. As you probably could tell from the initial discussion, tonight is the homie Tim's topic of ranking all-time favorite villains, not just in fighting games, but literally anything.
The only
So-
single stipulation I will give is no real life. So the fact that all these people that
Don't
wronged him
have
were
real
sports teams
people.
and games specifically, that's on the list, that's valid.
Yeah.
The entirety of the LA Lakers wronged you.
Dang.
So I think it's probably going to be some interesting lists in general. As you guys could figure from my waifu tastes and my general apprehension to sadness in media, I don't have a list. I was just going to sit here and let y'all talk, honestly.
Dang.
Oh.
Because
Cause like I was about to say, like for a second there, I thought you said wife list. I was like, wait, B-boy?
well, I mean, if you know my taste in waifus, you know that if a waifu is a big meanie villain, I usually don't like them at all.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that.
So as you'd figure, I don't have a list, but I figured I'd be here just hearing y'all talk about your lists. And then if anyone else like joins in last minute, I'll update the chart and whatever. But Draxxus was going to start off the list today because, excuse me, he was gonna give his whole list and then he's got a skedaddle. And then from there, you guys can either do honorable mentions or do your whole list or whatever. I'll let y'all decide. Just if you're gonna go on tangents, at least come back full circle and complete your list.
All right.
if I were to stay here and go on tangents, I would definitely choose a different list for my villains list. But because I need to do a quick, just hop in, dump the list, hop out. I chose specifically all of my villains are gonna be from Pokemon. I just
Hey.
rank them in
Okay.
order.
Oh dang! Did specifically a Pokemon.
Are you?
Yeah, specifically
I mean-
Pokemon list.
Okay, go ahead.
So we're gonna go start now, or you guys will talk about more about what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean you can go ahead. And Daniel, if you had like a specific, actually, by the way, again, I didn't see how big you guys' lists are. So is everyone's list bigger than 8?
I had just the
My
8 because
list
it fit
is-
perfectly for the Pokemon.
My-
Okay, then we'll just do top 8, and then if we'll see how much honorable mentions people do. But Daniel, if you have a list of at least 8, you can go ahead and
No, I don't really
give
have
them
anything.
its-
I just came in to talk shit. So.
well, that works too.
You came in to talk shit. You're the villain now.
But I'll let you guys get to it. I'll just watch it on stream.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if I were to like do a stream one day of like top Sencal villains, I'm pretty sure that would be a heated list.
On there,
Let's not do
number
that.
1.
Draxxus, go ahead and give
And I
me.
got
Alright.
Matlock on there, and then I got Paper Cut Radiation on there. No, I'm just kidding.
You are
Us.
make a list of our personal villains in this Discord. Call people out stream.
Alright, y'all have fun.
That's gonna.
All right, you too, man. Have a good night.
Thanks
All
for
right,
Alright,
dropping in.
thanks for chilling. So Draxxus, go ahead and.
So
I'm gonna be on mute.
no problem. Number 8 is actually 2 people because they both do the same thing. They're both eco terrorists. Archie and Maxie.
Okay, gotcha. Respect
Would be
that.
Sapphire.
Yep, they're both literally opposite of each other's eco-terrorism so Gen 3.
They all want to do what's best for the economy or for the environment, but they do it for the wrong reasons.
Yep. One wants land expansion, the other one wants a sea paradise, but they want to get rid of the other for it. So, yeah, Gen 3. Just put Gen 3.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, Gen 3 is best.
Because they're all gonna be Pokemon, you don't need to put Pokemon, I'll just put the generation.
Yeah.
And it works out perfectly because of the 8 gen.
Yeah. Yeah, they're the weakest for me, because, like, the overall arc story that happens around what they want is pretty cool, but they themselves and what threats they pose are meh. Like,
They're
they're in Alpha Ruby and Omega Sapphire. No, Omega
They're
Ruby,
also-
Alpha Sapphire. I had that backwards. In fact, a lot of the character goes into like their lieutenants and shit like that. They themselves, Archie and Maxie, stay the same.
Plus, they are even always villains. Depending on which game you get, the opposite one is a good guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, unless you
Right.
play Emerald, then they're
Yeah.
all, then they're both. then
yeah.
they're both good.
Number 7, cause this one is just really funny. Lysandre, from Gen 6. Yeah, Gen 6.
Fancy
see
white
why you-
Ganondorf.
Yeah.
I can see
Lysandre,
why.
Team Flare never really had a purpose. In fact, most of their purpose in the story is minimal, and they're just annoyances. But Lysandre, he's just a smart dude that thought, it'll be good for the world? Genocide.
Hey, we talked about that. That's-
Yeah. So they literally, you don't know how to spell it. Let me find Lysandre.
By the way, isn't it Lysander?
Lysander?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know why I spelled it. Lysander.
There you go. That's how you spell Lysander.
Yeah, that's the next villain, yeah. Just assume whenever I spout a new name, it's the next villain, because I'm gonna...
Honestly, even though,
And
even
69.
though, even though Team Flare didn't have that, wasn't like intimidating at all, you gotta admit they look fashionable.
They look
Yeah,
fashionable, and that's about it. That's the flair to them. But yeah, like, his ultimate goal was, because on both games, both Pokemon are treated as weapons of mass destruction. The power that they have a talent powered about that, like, has a weapon of mass destruction in it. So yeah, he activates that, tries to attempt to use the legendaries to kill everyone. Oh, I got a gifted sub. Thank you, Screaming for Ice Cream. But yeah, his was just meh. But again, it's one of those stories where Gen 6 had a better overall arcing story around the villain, not just the villain itself. Next villain, number 6, so Ronald, this is gonna be the next one, is Lucamine from Gen 7. Cause
I thought Guzma was the villain.
You thought
Yeah.
Guzma was the villain, but it was
No.
Lucamine.
her original goal, while noble, the route she went to take it was not great. Gen 6, not Gen 6, Gen 7.
Gen 7, Sun and Moon. So Gen
Yeah, Son of
7.
Gen 7.
I
She
got you,
is,
boy.
she is, for a lot of people who didn't play the game, they thought, oh, big bad mommy, which she is.
Thick mommy.
But yeah, Thick Wick is pretty good too. But yeah, she herself, her main goal is she wanted to, get her husband back. But the way she went about it, of conquering the Ultra Beast, trying to gain all that power, becoming super evil herself, yeah, and she kind of wronged her children. Gladian turned super chuny, and Lily had nothing she wanted to do with her.
She controlled her children. Let's just say it like that. She was a
It's
helicopter.
like it was near a form of parental abusiveness to get her goal. Near that, not completely, but had shades of it.
And she was also controlled by an Ultra Beast as well at the
Yeah.
end of Sun and Moon.
Yeah, because of all her power and all that. Next one, Ronald. Next one, you ready? Is Gen 8 Chairman Rose.
Chairman Rose, Gen 8.
Yep, Chairman Rose. So, I personally love Gen 8. I know that's a damning take for a lot of people. I love the game. But he is the villain because it's one of those cases of, we talked about it before, of meeting your fate on the road to avoid it. So, all he wanted was to stop the legend of the world's just gonna die. So he wants to prevent it. He tried so hard and thought, oh, the idea of let's bring out this super Pokemon Eternatus and have it power the world. But no, it didn't, and he ended up actually starting the end of the world. So he met his fate on the road to avoid it, and that's the whole thing that I liked about it. And again, and also a little bit of favoritism. Gen 8 like brought a lot of my newer favorite characters. So hey, next character, and this is I really like this one. So Mirror B.
Hey, okay, so Mirror B, alright. Mirror B is from Gen 3.
Yes, he is also Gen 3, but he's from a Pokemon spin-off game. But
You always saw pictures of him or like heard a song and thought he was like some cool dude, right? Nope, he's part of the bad guys. He steals people's Pokemon.
Mirror B,
both themes from both games are a bop.
And he has a buttload of
Ludicolo.
Ludicolo. And that
Let me tell you
makes him a
something.
very good person in my book.
Gen 3. He is also Gen 3.
let me tell you something. If Mirror B was if anybody was a voice actor for Mirror B, I could see Michael Jackson, or I could definitely see Michael Jackson as Mirror B. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mirror B is a villain, Ronald. He's part of the team that helps create Shadow Pokemon. He uses it freely.
Or
Like
He's a Shadow
he-
Ludicolo.
Like even they think on the level of
Shadow
villainy
Ludicolo.
of anime Team Rocket, Jesse and James. Think like that. In the first game, he had a higher like standing and he was more villainous. In the second game, he was kind of more relegated to that role that you meet him every now and then, he gets in your way and all that. But he's still a funny character. You smile whenever you see him. He was just a great bad guy to see in the game. Number 3 is Gen 5's Getsis. Ghetsis.
So, anyway.
Gen 5. Because his whole deal is that he just wants to conquer the world with an iron fist. But he also started his own basically evil team.
That's my usual.
But that entire evil team is actually to them, they think they're liberating the Pokemon. You know, Pokemon shouldn't be caught. Freeing the Pokemon and all that, like free rights for the Pokemon and all that stuff. All of that was a faux plan. Even his son that he raised for that sole purpose, who believed that, you know, Pokemon should be free, was raised under that false pretense of freeing the Pokemon. He wanted to rule the world and with an iron fist and be all powerful.
He did it so that way he could be the only guy with Pokemon.
Yep. Everyone else doesn't have
when-
Pokemon, but I do. I control all of them.
But after lost to the trainer, the protagonist, he basically fessed up and was like, you know, my son is worthless. Hey, I'm gonna, you know, my plan was to go ahead and be this, control all the Pokemon, but my son is useless. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna make you myself.
And
And I saw that.
yeah.
you know.
Number 2, Gen 4's Cyrus.
A
Cyrus
Cyrus.
is a very ambitious man.
Oh,
Cyrus.
man. And
C-Y-R... No, C-Y...
C-Y-R-U-S.
Yeah, R-U-S, yeah. I don't know why I blanked. Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Cyrus,
and
Gen 4.
he has one of the best songs, villain Pokemon songs, so far.
This is a man whose goal is to control the gods and rule the world.
Not rule the world. He wanted to create his own universe.
Yeah,
where he-
just
trying to recreate reality.
because that's
Mhm.
why his goal was the gods of the Pokemon world, the creation trio, and he just wanted it, like the super power play, and he nearly got it too, because he was there. He opened the portal for them, and he was so close to capturing it until, you know, you, the player, stop it. But he was the closest in completing his own goal in the Pokemon lores.
well,
the closest.
He almost succeeded if it wasn't for you,
Exactly.
Cynthia, your rival at the legendary trio, the Lake Trio, and Giratina,
Yep.
because he
But
sent
yeah.
him to help.
And this is the new one, and because, you know, this is all Pokemon based, you don't see his name yet. Number 1 is the OG big boy Giovanni from Gen 1.
Hey, Okay, look, let's just say like this. You want to know why Giovanni is
Giovanni
number
Gen 1.
Giovanni. I know someone whose last name is Giovanni, so I know how to say.
Not Giovanna, Giovanni.
Teleport, yeah.
If she is Giovanna, she was a Pokemon character the whole time.
Because let me tell you something.
You typed in Giovanna again.
Oh, my bad. It's Giovanni.
She is. It's Giovanna,
Yeah,
the greatest villain.
It's the Gen 1
Okay.
villain of Pokemon.
Okay, let's just say it like this. Actually, Jax, this is your list, so I'm gonna let you
Yeah.
go ahead.
This is the man who didn't really care about the bigger goals in the first part of the game. All he wanted was everything's mine, and I'll take it that way.
He was a mafia boss.
Yep.
He
Wanted to steal
literally
everyone's Pokemon. Wanted all the power in the anime. Like the Rockets had,
Yeah.
like even though there were other teams present, the Rockets were there in all of the regions. Like this dude had the power, and it was deeply rooted everywhere.
He also wanted Mewtwo.
He was
also
the sole
killed-
purpose for Mewtwo's existence.
He's the reason why Cubone's Marowak's Ma.
Yep.
Cubone's Ma's dead.
People were messing around in the tower.
They've murdered Pokemon too. Yep, definitely. He's a lot of the troubles is Team Rocket. This guy will stop at nothing to get what he wants. And again, like I said, like the creation of Mewtwo, all the people that Mewtwo kills on his head. This guy will do whatever.
Oh, can we say that this guy created Team Rainbow Rocket? Come on, he brought all the villains together, so that way they could take over the whole island of Alola. Yeah, he was trying to take over Hawaii.
And in Gen 2, remember, your rival is his son.
Yep, that's his son.
And that's a thing that he was learning himself. You learn that your rival in Gen 2, even though Team Rocket is also still a problem in Gen 2, obviously, learned that his son just was like, what?
And
but yeah.
he was about to return to Team Rocket once they took over the radio tower, until you stopped him by using Celebi's time travel. So you time travel and you beat the snot out of Giovanni, Giovanni, and he's like, I was gonna go back to Team Rocket Tower, but you just showed me that I got my butt whooped. Hey, it's been understandable. Have a nice day. Nice knowing you.
But yeah, this is my list of how I view the villains for Pokemon. Alright, I think I'm about to hop out and just go do what I was planning to do, but it was nice being a part of this stream again, and it was nice dropping my list and talking to y'all.
Thanks for showing up and putting Pokemon everywhere.
Alright, I'll see you guys later.
Good stuff.
That was really good stuff. Oh, man.
Pokemon's got some pretty likable villains, to be totally honest. They're really fun.
Yeah, they're likable. They're all cool people, but man, if like I said, Giovanni, Cyrus, Gifted, I think I like Nascore better than B, but man, there were some villains that just like went from, like, Giovanni just doesn't care. All the other villains are like, Lord, do you guys need like a hug or something? Did someone wrong you?
Yeah, because one of them's just like, okay, mob boss, that makes sense. It's like, yeah, he wants his power, he's got his money, he's doing mob things. Then you get to like Archie and Maxie, it's like, what do you guys want? And they're like, oh, flood the world and or dry up all of the water.
I mean, couldn't you just do something better with your life? Like support people. You got Cyrus who wants to create another world and rule it. I'm like, my man, is there?
Y'all gotta cool down.
You gotta cool down. Get this. Oh my gosh. I was like, my man, you seem bothered. You are bothered. You seem to bother. I don't know who beat you up as a child, but dang, you seem bothered.
Oh, so I forgot to ask. David, did you want to go through your whole list, or just do honorable mentions with everybody and like the usual?
Yeah, I think for now we can do some honorable mentions.
I'm down with that.
Oh, okay.
I got a
you
lot
go
of
ahead.
honorable mentions, so.
We'll start with David. You can go through them however you want.
Okay, so honorable mentions. These basically would have been these would have been if this was like a top 16 list or something like that. These would have been a top. But since this is top 8 list, I've decided to move these to honorable mentions. So the first person I'm going to add in is actually from a movie. It's the first honorable mention I have. His name is Nikolai. Have any of you seen the movie called The Equalizer?
No, I have not.
It's been a long time since I've seen it. Nikolai's good.
Yeah, he's the main villain. Kind of similar. His personality is similar to Makarov from Call of Duty Modern Warfare trilogy. He's basically a Russian mafia boss, and he's really good at, he has a really great menacing personality and a really good counter to the vigilante, because The Equalizer is basically a vigilante film. It's basically a retired operative who comes out of retirement to act as a vigilante, and he doesn't wear any capes or costumes or anything like that. He's not a comic book hero. He's just basically a guy who puts the law into his own hands. And what he does is he does it for, the better of the city and all that, because there is corruption there and all that. But The Equalizer is one of my favorite movies of all time, and Nikolai really helped in making The Equalizer movie a great film. And I also really enjoyed the dark and gritty atmosphere it had. It's kind of like, I might be, no, it's not neo-noir. I would say it's just basically like more of a crime vigilante film. And those are the kind of stories I like. So it really matched that, and not to mention the fact that Denzel Washington did a really great job performing in that film. So any comments or questions regarding that before I move on to the next honorable mention?
I got nothing.
I got nothing.
Okay.
Hold on. Do you
What's
have
up?
a villain from Star Wars in your honorable mention?
Yes, I do.
Because I was gonna put him as my global. Because if it's the one I'm talking about, he's globally my favorite. He's gonna be in the global number 1. I'm just gonna tell you that.
Okay. Sorry. That fall off was a coincidence. I swear, it was a coincidence. I'm having a little attack right now. So anyways, so who's this honorable mention? So who's could you at least give a hint on who the villain is? Okay, all right. I'll just say you're safe. So since speaking of that, since he's an honorable mention, I'll just bring him up now. Of all Star Wars villains I chose, and I'm sure everyone in this group by now knows I'm a pre-Disney Star Wars fan, so of course there was going to be a villain in this list, and I decided,
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying.
Anyways, as I was saying, I decided to include Darth Maul.
Nice.
So, of all villains, what I really like about Darth Maul is that I don't want to spoil it too much, but Darth Maul did have an epic quote unquote death, quote unquote, and then had an epic real death. And if you've seen everything, you'll know what I'm talking about. So, and he was actually a really well-written villain. I like the fact that he was basically kidnapped as a child, and basically forced to be a Sith Lord. He never really chose the path he took. And his ending also really did a great job reflecting on basically saying, I hope this person, we basically have a common enemy, and I hope this person. I'm trying to, this is a spoiler-free talk, so I might sound confusing to some people, but his end, he had a great ending, basically saying the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and I thought that was a really epic death, basically saying I haven't gone soft. I'm not a good person, but we have a common enemy, and I hope this person's going to avenge both of us. So, and I still remember, and this is also a nostalgia reason, I still remember when I was a little kid in the movie theater and I saw Darth Maul, I was already a Star Wars fan, I saw Maul pulling out the double blade lightsaber for the first time, I'm like, let's go!
Yeah, the coolest thing.
I watched okay, my bad. I watched it, I remember when Maul like when I saw the trailer for Maul, and I loved him from the start. He is my favorite. He's one of my favorite Sith Lords, if not counting Darth Vader. Like he is really cool. He was really cool, and his him beating a certain Jedi in the story is why it's called the Duel of the Fates. So according to George Lucas's apprentice, let's be honest, Dave Filoni is George Lucas's apprentice. That's his spiritual successor. That's his spirit child, right there, right? According to Dave Filoni, Darth Maul and the Jedi he faces. Well, I guess this is not a spoiler, right? Qui-Gon's not a spoiler. Qui-Gon and Darth Maul fight, and Obi-Wan's as well. It's called Duel of the Fates because whoever won that fight would decide Anakin's future. Basically.
Yeah, that sounds like it makes sense because I could imagine if Qui-Gon, didn't get killed off, in Star Wars Episode 1, he probably would have done, in my opinion, no offense to Obi-Wan, but you see, Obi-Wan didn't seem like he was ready to be a Jedi Master, and I think, he was training Anakin a little bit too early. You see, Qui-Gon was already a veteran at, the Jedi Force and all that. I think Qui-Gon might have done a better job of keeping Anakin from turning into Vader,
Exactly, and that's why it's called, it was the fate of, it was like fate. That's how good it was.
And I imagine if Darth Maul was able to kill Obi-Wan, as he nearly did, if Obi-Wan did get killed off, then I think someone else, might have trained Anakin. Maybe someone like Mace Windu might have trained Anakin, because what I like about Mace... Huh?
None of them would, because, see, the thing is, the Jedi were so strict, and Qui-Gon wasn't, but I don't even think Yoda would have trained him, but the only one who was suitable, if we're gonna count all the Jedi, was definitely Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan. In not hating on, and it's because of like Qui-Gon's promise. Obi-Wan loves Qui-Gon. That was his father figure right there. So he was gonna honor Qui-Gon's wish, his dying wish, if anything, and. So it was either those two, but having one of them die would probably have upsetted Qui-Gon anyway. But had Qui-Gon survived, had Obi-Wan managed to go through that last barrier, Maul would have lost. Period. He would have died, and it would have been we wouldn't have Star Wars. We wouldn't have the sequel. I mean, the original trilogy. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah, I do agree with that, and I think you're right. I think the Jedi might have probably didn't want to train Anakin. I was just saying that if Mace Windu did, it's kind of a off subject a little bit, but Mace Windu. The reason why his lightsaber is purple is because he knows how to use the dark side of the Force. He's not consumed by it, but he's like one of the very few Jedi who actually uses the dark side of the Force. So I think he might have been, if he did train Anakin, I think he could have taught Anakin how to, keep himself from turning into Vader and all that.
I don't know, but I think Yoda would have been a better teacher for him than Mace. I think it's more so Mace and Anakin just didn't have that bond. They didn't have that. Mace had an expectation for the chosen one. He didn't really trust them. But when you compare it to like Yoda, in my opinion, I think he would have done a little bit better. I mean, granted, if we're talking about Yoda from the prequels compared to the OG trilogy, I think Yoda in the OG trilogy would have done a lot better.
That's true. Yoda also, I remember in episode 1 when Anakin was first brought to the Jedi Council, I remember Yoda wasn't really a fan of Anakin. I might recall wrong, I haven't seen the film in a while, but I think Yoda actually said, listen, this boy's future is clouded and all that. So, I think, in the long run, I was just making a hypothetical scenario, but I'm just saying, I think you're right. I think that, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan were the only ones who were really going to train Anakin.
But honestly, I didn't mean to shoot it down. I'm saying, Mace Windu would have been a really good pupil, I think all the Jedi, had they trusted Anakin more and trusted more on the Force rather than the Republic that they're, guarding, they followed more of the Force, I think, and they weren't as strict on the code. I think honestly, Anakin would have been where he was going. The path he wouldn't have followed the path he was trying to avoid. Just like what Draxxus said, for Chairman Rose. Anakin was trying to avoid this path. I guess later in his life, and he gets caught by it, and it's because of like the Jedi and many other factors that just hit him. That just he goes to the dark side, and it's particularly the loss of his mother and his wife that basically break the camel's back. Yeah. So
Yeah.
a lot of misguided judgment from the Jedi as well that caused his turn. This is what I like about. I'm sorry if I'm going off a tangent. This is why I loved about the Clone Wars. It gave us more of the flaws, the pros and the cons of the Jedi, and it gave us more depth that we couldn't do in 3 movies. So
Yeah.
Darth Maul, mad good.
he is very yes.
Yeah.
Back to the point. Darth Maul literally changed fate. Literally tipped the scales
Yeah.
because of what he did. That is why he's so good. And he
Definitely deserving of that honorable mention.
Yeah, and also in the final season of the Clone Wars, he knew Palpatine was like at the end. He already knew that it was over. He already knew that there was a checkmate. Like Palpatine won. Oh my gosh, I can't. I'll talk about it when I do Palpatine. I mean,
We're gonna be gushing about Star Wars too much. We got villains to talk about.
Yeah, we got other villains. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, sorry, we got a little sidetracked. But anyways, the only thing a quick thing I wanted to say though was that I was just a little sad when Darth Maul quote unquote got killed off quote unquote a little too early in the trilogy, so we didn't get to see him in another live action film.
They did a really good job expanding his character and like all the in between content, things like Clone Wars. But it is a bit of a shame that we only ever see him in one movie.
He only had a cameo in another film too, so
yeah, he briefly showed up and he was like, "Oh hey."
There is a fun fact. So the lightsaber battle between Ahsoka and Maul in the season 7 finale.
Okay. Yeah.
So the lightsaber choreography was actually done by Ray Park. Like they actually did motion capture with Ray Park. So Ray Park did. So you kind of, while it was animated, you got Ray Park actually doing the fight.
Wow.
That's really cool.
Cool.
But yeah, I'm sorry if I didn't need to spoil that, but that was just he actually did do like he did actually do a motion capture with it. So
Alright, so the next honorable any other questions or comments? Or
no, go ahead.
Okay. The next honorable mention I'm going to have is, of all Resident Evil villains, there are a lot of good Resident Evil villains, but I decided to choose Lucas Baker from Resident Evil 7.
Oh man. Okay, you hit me. That was a left ball. I thought it was going to be Albert Wesker.
I just, and I know when I said that, I do agree that Resident Evil does have a lot of good villains. Resident Evil 8, I would say another villain could have made on the list was Heisenberg, but I already mentioned another stream why he ended up being disappointing. So, so the reason why I really like Lucas Baker is because of the fact that, you see, Wesker, I'll admit it, the plot twist in Resident Evil 1 where he turned out to be a villain was pretty good, and it's aged really well. If you have no idea what Resident Evil is, that'd be a pretty good plot twist. However, in the long run, I do like Lucas Baker better because I think he did have a better plot twist. I like the fact that, you basically find out that in the Baker family, he's not really possessed. He's not quote-unquote demonically possessed. you really find out that he's actually conscious, and you really find out that he's just a naturally evil person, natural
It's
psychopath.
really frightening.
Yeah.
Like you, especially because like the way it kind of goes through, it's like, oh, you have your whole ordeal in the section of the game with Jack, you have your whole section with the wife, you have your whole section with like it kind of goes through the family. Like when you get to Lucas, you think, oh, so like did the fungus and mold give him like this crazy? Did it like make him want to be some sort of craftsman who like makes these traps and makes these? It's like, no, he was always like that. Lucas Baker was pretty much always this conniving psychopath who likes to mess with people and build death traps.
Yeah,
It's like, dang, that's scary.
Yeah, and a fun fact is that he's basically the Joker of Resident Evil, and especially with those games. Do you remember the DLC where he made people play Jack and keep his free games? Yeah. So, Lucas, right? Mark Hamill voices the Joker, and he also plays Luke. Do you think that name Lucas is a coincidence? I don't think so. And I'm kind of serious. I think it's I think they might have named him Lucas on purpose for that little Easter egg.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Well, but anyways, I think Lucas was a really good villain because I really like how he really changed pace from Resident Evil. And as you say, that he's always been an evil person, and he even gave Chris Redfield, considering the fact that this guy didn't really have any military experience or anything, he gave Chris Redfield. It was just his, as evil as he is, he's also super intelligent, and he gave Chris Redfield a run for his money. I mean, he almost was able to kill him.
He posed a very powerful threat compared to the crazy mold monsters and crazy supernatural shenanigans going around. He put up a heck of a fight with all the stuff he was doing.
Well, yeah, and I remember that one of Chris Redfield's partners said, "Man, Lucas is a psycho. What's worse, the molded or him? All these monsters are him." I mean, that's how nasty he was.
Yep.
So yeah, I thought he'd be, a good choice, for the Resident Evil villain, and to be put in the honorable mention. Any other questions though before I move on?
No,
No, you're good.
All right, so next honorable mention I'm going to have is Kazuya from Tekken.
Hey.
Okay.
On that
Yeah.
note of like what you said with Wesker, I think Kazuya kind of does it well if someone's not familiar with Tekken, because especially at the first game, they're like, oh yeah, he's doing it to get revenge on his father for wronging him. No.
Hey, hold on. I'm gonna be
Actually, I believe that Kazuya in a way is more of an anti-hero. Sometimes he's more of an anti-hero than a villain, especially in Tekken 7. Not many people talk about this, but you really find out that Kazuya was kind of driven insane.
Yeah.
He
was pushed into that to try to trigger the devil gene, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that if you notice at the end of Tekken 7, a small detail that really shows that Kazuya was driven insane, not naturally insane like Lucas, is, by the way, first of all, are you okay with spoiler and Tekken 7 story? I figure it's been so long, Anyone in the group chat, are you okay with a spoiler in Tekken 7? I mean, this is a clear spoiler. I mean...
Hey, go for it.
When Heihachi does get killed off in Tekken 7, what was really interesting was the fact that Kazuya's devil form couldn't kill off Heihachi. Notice Heihachi was able to defeat Kazuya in his devil form. Yet what was really interesting was how Kazuya, when he almost got defeated, he looked at Heihachi and he basically saw young Heihachi and then flashback of all the nasty things that was done to him as a little child. And that motivation actually got Kazuya enough strength to kill off Heihachi, and basically saying, all those horrible things you did to me, and he says, I have to get revenge. So I think the fact that that was able to get Kazuya to defeat Heihachi, not his devil form, was a fact that showed that Kazuya was driven insane. I mean, imagine if I just want to say, imagine if Heihachi, did kill off Kazuya. He'd be like, oh, I just killed my 5-year-old son. Oh, better safe than sorry, might have been the devil. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So, yeah, what I like about Kazuya is that he's, I like the fact that he is clearly a villain, but he does show this anti-heroic side once in a while. And I do hope he doesn't get killed off in Tekken 8. I mean, it might happen. We'll see.
Kazuya works out well in that regard, because villains don't need to have great sweeping goals or ambitions, and they don't need to have the most elaborate motivations either. Kazuya was constantly wronged by his father and sought revenge, and sometimes that's all it takes.
And he killed his mom as well. So
Yeah.
that honestly, I feel sorry for Kazuya, but he sold his soul to the devil, and you know, he knew. I guess his angel side tried to save him, but you know, he couldn't. He had vengeance and power, you know, and eventually something like that will corrupt a man. Even greater men have fallen short from that. Have fallen from grace.
Yeah. But you know, the interesting thing about him is that he is clearly a villain, but he does basically show that vengeful side once in a while, which I think really makes him more dimensional than the other characters in Tekken.
Right.
Anyways, any questions or comments before I move on?
No, go right ahead.
Go ahead.
The next honorable mention is going of all the Naruto villains. I decided I'm doing Watch Mojo style one villain per franchise. So there are a lot of good Naruto villains, but I decided to stick with Gaara.
Hey, he plays a really good villain.
He did. I think honestly, my favorite villain for Naruto, because he's not on the list of mine. It's the tie between. I feel like it's Sasuke too. Him and Sasuke made really good villains, and it's because of like what they've gone through both their struggles. But go ahead.
What was interesting is that Gaara's background's obviously very similar to Naruto's, and the only person who he thought was a father figure basically betrayed him. I could imagine Naruto falling into that same falling into the dark side if Iruka Sensei betrayed him like that. I could easily imagine. In fact, if you notice in the first episode of Naruto almost became a villain because he thought he was betrayed by Iruka. So it was very interesting how Gaara's kind of like a mirror, evil mirror of Naruto.
Gaara's very good. Like, the majority of the series, he's not an antagonist, but his time as an antagonist is great because he provides a foil and counterpoint in pretty much everything he's doing. Because, like you've said, he's a great counter to Naruto of, he's got a tailed beast within him. He has all this power, but he's also super, alienated because of it and all this hardship he went through. It's a great foil to see this is where Gaara is compared to Naruto. He also plays a great foil to Rock Lee in their fight, because Gaara was pretty much given his incredible power by the thing that's branded against him. Whereas you have Rock Lee, who has no power and has painstakingly fought hard to get every inch of power he has, and you try to see how they fight and compare. Like, Gaara as an antagonist has a lot going for, the greater, symbolism and meaning behind most of his interactions. He plays a great villain. For every scene, he's not a villain for long, but every part he's playing the villain is great.
Right.
I agree, and what I really like about Gaara is the fact that sometimes he's dead. He's dead, stone cold serious calm, and then another time he basically bursts into insanity like the Joker.
That one shot, that one panel. I remember reading the manga way back when he first kind of snaps, and that look in his eye. It's like, yo, this is wrong. He is not okay.
And I like the fact that and that kind of made him a frightening villain. I remember some people still say back when Naruto was considered frightening because first we already had Orochimaru. We all know when you first saw Orochimaru and
he's a creepy man.
Yeah, and then you see Gaara. This guy was this insane Gaara. So I do agree that I do agree he's a great villain. And I'm actually sad that he wasn't a villain that long. I think it would have been better to keep him as a villain a little bit longer because, in all honesty, it was he as a hero. He wasn't really as interesting as a hero. I think if they kept him as a villain for maybe much longer than he was, I mean, they could have made him good in the end. But I think it would have been better to keep him as a villain.
He's a good character, and his scenes are great. But he doesn't get a whole lot of screen time, and he gets kind of benched once he becomes a good guy. He helps around for a couple arcs and greater things, but he doesn't really show up a whole lot.
I feel like
I can understand that.
I feel like while Gaara is really good, I say Sasuke is someone that while Gaara and Naruto both are foils, I feel like Naruto had to learn. With Sasuke especially, like you see like a guy who's like originally good, seeking revenge, and then you see his downward spiral towards madness. Like, and then you're trying to see him like understand like life as well. And then like the other side, both sides of the world. And then you see like his whole like he's trying to. I guess he could resonate with me because like he wants to take, like when he wants to take control over everything. So, in my opinion, when he's talking about revolution.
Naruto's got really good antagonists. I feel like we're probably going to see more characters than just Gaara in one of these lists.
I think the antagonists, Gaara and Sasuke, I think the better protagonists because they're people that were wronged by the system of ninja. I think that's in my opinion. Like Sasuke's family was wronged by the village of Release, and Gaara, because he was a Jinchuriki, he was also wronged by his own village and by the people around it because he held the peace. And you can see how like the systems and the people around them compared to Naruto, who
Hey guys, not to be pushy, but it's already 9, so
Yep, we gotta keep on top of
Okay,
it.
my bad. Sorry.
you can finish the point though if you want. We just shouldn't be dragging it that long.
It's good. You guys go on ahead because I know I've got a lot of honorable mentions, so I'm just gonna probably hit them quick. I'm gonna hit them
Okay.
quick.
Yeah. And again, I'm sorry if I'm sounding rude or anything. I just don't want to.
Oh no, you're in the
No,
right.
you're
We
fine
need to be
because-
pushing through them.
You're right because I was going off a tangent, so my bad.
No, that's okay. No worries. So, anyways, the next honorable mention I actually have is what was it? I'm going to include Brooke Augustine from Infamous Second Son. He's basically the main villain. And
That's a good pick too.
thanks. And the reason why I'm including this character is because I really like how not only is she super nasty, I really like how she's a psychologically intimidating character. But really, I think she could have been on the list, but the reason why I kept her in honorable mentions along the list is because she was a little bit too one-noted. But that being said, I still think she was really good, and whoever voiced that character did a really good job. And I really like the fact that she basically got anyone okay with spoilers for Infamous Second Son in the chat and in the Discord?
I'm fine with it. I'm not really an Infinite guy, but
Go for it.
Go for it.
I just want to say that I like the fact that it was such a great scene when she really changed the theme of the game. It kind of Infamous Second Son kind of had that Tony Hawk skateboarding vibe to it in the first half of the game. Kind of the it was kind of like a metal skateboarding vibe. It wasn't really that dark and gritty, but she turned it into a dark and gritty game when she killed off Reggie and basically got Delson to go completely crazy. And that was a really, really great scene. And how and I also like how she's a psychological manipulator, basically forced Delson to reveal that has a certain power that he was trying to hide from everybody. So, that was also good. But anyways, any questions or comments?
I think that's good.
All right, so moving on to my next honorable mention. I hope I look at my notes. Don't want to miss any by accident. So the next honorable mention I have is actually I think that's it for honorable mentions for me. I might add in one more. I just want to make sure I don't miscount. But yeah, I think that's all my honorable mentions. Might add another one later on, but for now,
Alright.
Moving on.
That's some good honorable mentions then. I only have 3 honorable mentions.
Thank you.
And wound up with a list of 11 total. So since it's top 8, I'll send the other 3 here. My first honorable mention will be Resident Evil's Nemesis.
Okay. Yeah, it's also a good thing.
I really like Nemesis because of the way he's just an ever-present threat is really good. The way he's just this giant force that you have to constantly be aware of is really good for like a horror game concept. I like the lore behind it of he's a pretty much like near perfected bioweapon. He's the current stage of it that kept getting updated by Umbrella, and he's specifically designed to fight and hunt down the people designed to fight and hunt down him. He was the anti-stars unit. That's really good. I think that a person designed specifically to counter the forces that are sent to stop you is an interesting thing for like a bioweapon to be. And he's just incredibly intimidating and powerful. I find that really cool. Also, I'm heavily biased because I like playing him in Marvel vs. Capcom.
Is it okay if I make a pun?
Go ahead.
I guess he wanted to be the star instead.
Hey! I'm down with that. I would be totally down with that.
You want to see stars,
Yep.
alright?
Nemesis, I love that big monster man.
If I hear you say stars,
It's good.
if I hear you say stars one more time, I'm gonna make you see stars.
So, my next honorable mention, this will be the only one in my entire list that I will not be saying specifics about for spoilers, but it is the culprit in Persona 4. And without saying any spoilers as to who they are or anything else, my explanation for why them is because when you do finally uncover it's them, their mannerisms, their motive, their reasoning behind what they did, and like all of it is incredible. Like, it is incredibly well done in regards of making a character really good at just being the villain. It catches you off guard. When you hear the details, you're like, wait, really? Wow, I hate this guy. This is the worst person. They gotta stop. Like, it's great. The P4 Culprit is a fantastic villain. Play that game or watch the anime. It's worth it. And then my last honorable mention is either, however you want to pronounce it, Magus or Magus from Chrono Trigger.
Yo, I have not heard. I heard Magus. I was like, what? Magus. Oh my gosh. Yes.
So
Magus.
like, the whole plot of Chrono Trigger revolves around Lavos, a giant monster thing that blows up the world. And the whole game is revolving around that. And a majority of the game is spent with the understanding of Magus is the thing that summons Lavos to the planet, so we need to go stop Magus. You discover through playing the game like that's not the case, and Magus is just as much a victim of circumstance and time as the rest of your party, and has his own motivations to deal with Lavos, and is initially just incredibly hostile. He's the cause of a war in one of the eras, and is constantly at war with humanity. His incredible powers are in response to another era from the game. He himself plays like a pivotal role in like the game's plot, and as an antagonist and at sometimes assistant and helper to the party, all works out well for his motivations and his own end goals. And the thing that I like the most about him is his status as kind of a villain and antagonist remains throughout the whole game, because you do fight him as a boss fight, and he does join your party at some point later. Possibly, it's optional. But even if he joins your party, Chrono Trigger has a main mechanic of doing duo and triple techniques with your party members. Magus is the only character who doesn't learn any. He does not do any teamwork. He's not your friend. He will do optional like magic triple arts you can use if you get like the equipment for them, but he himself never teams up with you to that extent. He's not your friend. He's here to help you take out Lavos, and he's going back to what he was doing. And if you get in his way, he'll fight you. Yeah. And I like that a lot. I think he's a great villain because of that, because it's like, oh yeah, he's just got his own goal. And even when it aligns with yours and he bothers to help out, that doesn't mean you're all buddy-buddy.
Also, can I just say that he has, every time I hear him talking, he reminds me of Vegeta. I can hear Vegeta's voice. I can hear Vegeta's voice every time he talks.
He's best. Max is a cool dude. That's the last of my honorable mentions. Hello there.
Hello there. General Kenobi.
So I guess we're moving on to the next honorable mentions then.
Oh boy. Okay.
Buckle
So
up.
I'm gonna take out Maul because everybody's talked because you guys talked about Maul. So I'm gonna go with my. Okay, I'm gonna make these quick. Some of them quick. Let's go with I'm gonna go with my first three. Dio Brando from JoJo's Bizarre Adventures.
Hey.
Frieza from Dragon Ball, and Cell. Perfect Cell.
Nice,
And let's be honest, for everybody, let's just do Dragon Ball Abridged, because that's the best Cell. Okay? I can't think of Cell in anything else but Perfect Cell from Dragon Ball Bridge. So those are the first three, and I got plenty more, so buckle up, B-boy, this is going to be a big one. We got the three, oh, hold on, because, what's his name? Draxxus took out Lysander, Giovanni, and Cyrus. I took those three out, so you don't have to worry about them. So let's see, 1, 2, 3. Roa.
I'm writing these names, by the way.
Huh?
I'll put different joke names in at first, and I'm liking them.
Roa from Tsukihime. He's just read you gotta read the visual novel. Like, there's the OG visual novel I could probably DM to you. Just read, he's like a homie in one of the endings, especially I can't spoil that. Nope, never mind. Can't say anything about it. Roa from Tsukihime. Happy Chaos from Guilty Gear.
Okay.
Happy Chaos, or the actual that man. And let's be honest, you wanna know why? Drama.
Fair enough.
Is B-boy there? I don't know. Okay. Let's just go with the next one. Hades. Hades from Disney.
Okay.
The Disney villain Hades.
Disney Hercules
Okay.
Hades.
Yes, let's just say it like this. I love Hades. Especially when
great.
he's mad. He's like, this guy is the goddess of the god of the underworld. The god of the underworld. He's not a villain, but Hades is just. I don't even think he's the stereotypical villain who want to rule the world and all that stuff. In my opinion, I just think he just needs a hug. He just needs attention. But Hades is cool. He's funny when he's mad. He's got that. I don't know. He's just got that funny.
He's a delight every time he's on screen.
Exactly.
Everything about him is just enjoyable. He's fun to watch. His mannerisms, his way of speaking, it's just a delight.
It is very much a delight. Oh, and we can't forget this guy, because this guy's a Sam Show character. And he's the first boss I got to fight in any Sam Show game. We welcome Amakusa Shiro Tokisada. Let me just tell you this. I'll tell you a reason why. And he's just a great villain all around. Honestly, it's more so his play style and what happened to him, and based off his real life counterpart. So he's a Christian man. He was a Christian man. Was going through a Christian revolution. Long story short, Christian man had a revolution. Was a leader of a castle, or a ruler of a certain province in that had Christianity. The Tokugawa didn't like that. They killed him off. He comes back 100 years, sold his soul to the devil. Came back 100 years later to kick some butt. That's actually what he says in the English translation. That's really horrible. But he does it, and he steals people's bodies. He stole a stone. But then you realize, then in 4, like, he splits into 2 parts. Like, he has a good side and a bad side, and he saves you. He helps you defeat the primary boss and steal what's her name? What's this guy? Ambrosia forever in Sam Show 2. So that's kind of like the gist of what he is. And his laugh, his speech patterns, he's just evil. Just evil. He's a very bad man.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. Did you get Dio from JoJo? Oh, you did.
He did. It's at the top of your list.
Okay, I see. Yes, shit. You got Cell. Did you get Cell and Frieza? Yeah, you did. Okay, perfect Cell. A. This is my favorite. Can I just say? Can I do one for a global? Can you put this in honorable mentions? But because this
Like denoted as extra
good.
honorable.
This guy is just too good to be in honorable mentions, but I'm going to put him in honorable mentions as my number 1. Even though he's the number 1 villain, he's just
No.
too dang good. Okay? He's just too dang good to
Just
be
say it.
in the list. My little green friend.
Good old Palpatine.
I was about to say Janitor Poopatine from Grand Boy Chum Chum. Yes, Chief Palpatine, also known as Darth Sidious. Let's just say it like this. I'm gonna gush on this guy for one. I'm just gonna gush on this guy. One word. He's a manipulator. A dang good manipulator. Oh man. I will tell you this. The Tragedy of Dark Plagueis the Wise is one of my favorite parts. And I don't like this guy. Trust me. It's like this is the villain I do not like, but he's so good. When Anakin says this, Sith hustle to find his house. In my mind, as Palpatine is turning, this is what I'm thinking he's saying in his mind. Hook, line, sinker. I have done it. He manipulates the Jedi, single-handedly manipulates the Republic, the Jedi, and Anakin Skywalker, and rules the galaxy with an iron fist. Okay, and also he's got good meat. He's up in the meme status. Him and Robot Chicken, all that stuff. Okay, Palpatine should not be on this list at all. He's too dang good of a villain to be on this list. But I put him in honorable mentions because his Sith powers are too strong for being in the top rank. So,
It is hard to get a more evil character than him. It is hard to have someone who is more of a villain than him.
It's so hard. Yeah.
I just want to quickly add that I do agree that Palpatine's a great villain, except I don't like the fact they basically crowded him into a Disney film. I thought that was kind of ridiculous to bring him back at the end.
They could have done it a bit better.
Yeah.
I'm not calling it Disney. Disney Palpatine is not canon to me. He is not canon. He does not exist.
Same
I'm
here,
talking
actually.
George Lucas, Chief Palpatine. I don't even care about the extended universe, where he's even more broken, where he could do. Oh my god, he is
Like,
so
even just counting the 6 movies, like, without the later sequels or any novelizations or further stuff, like,
exactly.
everything you said was right. Like, Palpatine is a master manipulator. He orchestrated plans within plans, and people within people, the machinations, all of it set for, like, his goal, and it was all set to work. Even if people didn't obey or certain things happened, he was ready to do what he needed to get the power he wanted. And it all worked in the end because of it.
He also took his own master, and I'm gonna say this: the battle between Anakin, Vader and Luke, it did not matter if Vader won or Luke won, and he got his star pupil. Palpatine won. Palpatine was winning. He had it all, and the only thing that took it out was the reason why he lost only is because Palpatine could not. When someone said no to him, he threw a tantrum and stopped Force lightning. And Anakin took the opportunity to kill his master. Straight up, it was no Deus Ex Machina. There was no Force powers. It was sheer love. It was a sheer father and son moment that basically beat Palpatine. And Palpatine could not foresee this. Everything that went through his plans, he could not foresee one thing: his own demise. Ironic at its best. And he killed his own master. Let's just say like that, while he had an apprentice. That's how good he was. He was so good that he didn't know how good he was. He congratulated himself. It was, oh boy. Like, there's a villain I do not like, but there's a villain you have to respect and be like. Ian McDiarmid, the actor for Palpatine, killed.
Yep.
Oh man, I can't. If I keep on gushing, we're going to be here for another hour. So let's stop right there.
Let's hop into the list then.
Do it. Man.
Alrighty.
I was about to go. Man, you guys make that was too good.
So how do you want to hop into these lists? Do you want to keep doing one at a time like we usually do, or because it's just us, we could also just keep going. Like, we got options.
Yeah, I was about to ask y'all. I'll lead up to David. How do you want to progress this?
I think we can do the usual one at a time until top 3, unless someone has to go.
I'm down with that.
Sounds good.
I'd rather, in my opinion, I think the top. I guess we can go 2.
Like 2 at a time until top 3. Oh, wait.
2 at a time actually is not a bad idea. What do you all
Wait,
think?
that works. 8, 6,
Huh.
4, and then yeah, top 3. So go ahead and do that if you want.
Okay. So wait, then 2 at a time, and then once we get to top 4, we explain it all, or just top.
Or
2 at a
well,
time,
if you
whatever.
go 2 at a time, you'll do 8, 7, 6, 5. Oh wait, 4. Oh frick, I did the math.
I'm
wrong.
down for just 2 at a time for all of them. We can do 8, 7,
Yeah,
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We'll do that.
That works.
Okay.
Sure.
So before I actually there was one honorable mention that got left out, and I'm gonna quickly bring it back. I won't explain very much. Noob Saibot from Mortal Kombat. Basically, I'll just say I like Bihan because I like the fact that he has a whole backstory in Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero, and even though it's a terrible game, it has a great story, and it basically shows that he has. Basically shows how dimensional he is, in the Mortal Kombat universe. He's a more dimensional villain. And I like the fact that he does show a vengeful side once in a while. And, he does, and he is, I like how he fits into the story of Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and, and himself. So that's all I'll say, since he's an honorable mention. Any comments or questions?
No.
Oh, one more thing, Ronald, is that Nikolai, not to sound too smart or anything, but I just want to say Nikolai, since it's with a K, not a C. It's a quick fix there. The equalizer.
Wait, is it? When I looked it up, it was spelled with the C.
You know what? I might be wrong. Let me quit. That's strange.
Actually, is his name Teddy?
Yeah,
Oh, there's
That's
2
his-
different lists.
that's his nickname. His real name in the film is.
Yeah, it says. I don't know. I could.
It's
bring
Nick.
this- I could-
Wikipedia says it's Nikolai, so with a K.
Hold on.
The
I'll be
wiki
right
says
back.
K,
Doesn't
the
matter.
other fan wikis say C. Curse you,
Oh, this
Russian
is
names!
awkward. I'll just change it
That's-
to a K. Then. Potato, tomato.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. Just Anyways, is it okay if I explain number 8 right now?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
So number 8 is actually going to be this is going to be from a movie, Cassian from John Wick 2. Have you any of you seen John Wick 2?
Pretty good.
So
Which movies are pretty good.
yeah, I was debating. John Wick 2, in my opinion, is the best. And I was debating between Santino and Cassian. I decided to go with Cassian because I like the fact that he's a little bit more dimensional than Santino. I like the fact that even though, in my opinion, what he's doing is he's still portrayed as a villain. It's kind of justifiable at the same time because person he was working for basically got killed. One of his big partner ended up getting killed, and even though John Wick basically was forced to do it, he didn't have a choice. Cassian was like, "No, I don't care. I'm still gonna get you. I'm still gonna kill you," and basically that attitude did make him, in my opinion, a villain. It was also kind of justifiable since that person was, close to him. The person got killed was close, and I also like that line saying, "I'll pay for your drink, though. Consider this a professional courtesy." And then John Wick basically pays him back by. Any spoilers for John Wick 2, though? Before I go any further.
Go for it.
Okay, let's take a look at the chat. I just want to take a look at the chat. No one seems to be complaining, so I'll say I like the fact that John Wick basically stabs him, and he says, "Do not remove the knife. It's stuck in your what's it called, the aorta. It's basically in the middle of his chest. It wasn't his heart. Yeah. It was And he says, "Do not remove it, or you will bleed and you will die." And John Wick just pays him back, saying, "Consider this a professional courtesy." So I thought that was also a good line. And we don't actually know if Cassian got killed off. And the actor who also portrayed him was really good, and he was also really good martial artist. One of the few characters that gave John Wick a run for his money. So, anyways, we don't actually know if he got killed off. There are a lot of hidden doctors, in the Continental, in that universe. He might have been able to get help. So we'll see what happens in John Wick 4. But any questions or comments before I move on to number 7?
Go on right ahead.
All right, so number 7 is actually going to be Damian Branks from Watch Dogs 1. I know I mentioned Watch Dogs a lot, but I decided to include it
because you like it.
Yeah. But the reason why I decided to include this film is because he's actually a major reason why I really enjoyed the story of Watch Dogs 1 is, what I really like the fact is basically he kidnaps Aiden Pierce's sibling, and basically says, "No, you have to work with me, otherwise I'm going to kill your sibling." And I like the fact that he kind of helps you, but is also a villain at the same time, and there are lots of mind games with him, and the phone calls and all that, and the confrontation with him at the end was also really great. So, I don't want to talk too much. I know I talk that game to death, but that's the main reason why I decided to include Damian Branks from Watch Dogs 1 in the list, because he's a really great villain, and I like the fact that you kind of work with him and he's a villain at the same time, so.
Yeah.
If there are no questions or comments, oh, wait, Ronald's looking up something. So I'm looking at the Twitch. I know there's lag there, so. Okay. So. Well, are you okay?
Yeah, I think we're all good.
Okay. Alright, so in that case, Tim, what is your number 8 and 7?
My number 8 and my number 7. So my number 8, we won't have to talk about too long since we've gushed about a lot of the series, but my number 8 is Darth Vader. So everything I said about Nemesis, of the force and threat that he is, Darth Vader also exemplifies. The thing is, when you're in a property like Star Wars, you have a million games and a million comics and all sorts of stuff, but the thing that makes me love Darth Vader is the unstoppable force that he is presented as in a lot of things. The ending scene of Rogue One is one of my favorite scenes in anything, because it's the best representation of Darth Vader. It's just, he's here, you're done. It's not a fight. It's not a matter of you might win. It's not a matter of that. It's a matter of how much time do you have left. You're not gonna stop him. I think the idea, and then just the way he's done in a lot of series and things, it's the chosen one gone bad. It's what could have been the ultimate force for good turned to evil, because that's part of how the balance works. And the thing that exemplifies Darth Vader the most, to me, is from one of the comics, and I'm gonna post it in Shenanigans. There's a part where he's literally surrounded, outnumbered 100 to 1 by rebels. They all have blasters point at him, and they tell him, "No, you're surrounded. Lay down your weapons." To which Darth Vader calmly activates his lightsaber and says, "No, all I'm surrounded by is fear and dead men." Darth
You
Vader
don't
is so
beat
good.
Vader. You don't beat Vader.
You don't.
You only stand long enough to survive.
Yep, if you're lucky.
And that's full power Vader. Vader only lost because, well, according to this guy named Star Wars Theory, the only reason why Vader lost is because he was holding back, because he wanted to turn his son to the dark side.
Oh yeah.
But Vader, when you saw him get that, when Luke got that lucky shot in Episode 5, it was over. Like, literally, he was. Let's just say it like this: Vader's armor separated from the galaxy made him singular, freedom from the needs of the flesh, the concerns of the body that once had plagued him, and focused solely on his connection to the Force. And his hatred, rage to not just Palpatine, not just to the Jedi or anybody else, but to himself.
Yep.
That's how powerful he was. And he's also my favorite Jedi because at the end, he does come back. And he does bring balance to
He
the Force.
does still, in the end, bring balance to the Force. I love the concept of a villain still being the chosen one. Because too many times it's, oh, you're the hero, you're the good guy, the ultimate... No, the prophecy wasn't just about that. It also involved balance, meaning having to handle Darkseid. That had to be part of it still.
It wasn't more so the balance. So the idea of the balance was... The idea was to have a symbiotic relationship.
Right.
With the Force. And the Sith were just a cancer to that. They were the
Exactly.
So you had to understand that to basically not fall to the path of the darkness, to understand that it was a necessary evil for good. But if you understand that the dark side is a necessary evil and not fear it or like get rid of it, but understand it's necessary evil, you will not fall to the dark side or fear the dark side. Like, think of Luke. Luke did not fear the dark side because he understood it was a necessary evil. Compared to Anakin, all the other Jedi who trained under before Qui-Gon became the Force Ghost, he understood. Even Qui-Gon understood that concept. Dark side is necessary evil. Don't tap into it, but understand it's a necessary evil.
The Force is a yin-yang concept. It's not about it's not about good and bad having to be in equal measure. It's about how the Jedi are supposed to, they embody more of logic, reasoning, and coolness and calm and collectedness, and value that kind of objectivity. Whereas the dark side was more passionate, more irrational, more emotional. And balance requires both. You can't just act purely on emotions, but you also shouldn't act purely on logic. It's about a balance to both.
You know, and I just want to add to that the lightsaber colors I think are really interesting, because I like the fact that green lightsaber basically is the closest to what the Jedi think. It's basically using wisdom and logic instead of combat, whereas the blue lightsaber is saying, yeah, I'll use combat. You know, I'm not ashamed to get into a confrontation, but I'm still going to stick with the Jedi way. And then I like the fact that there's purple lightsaber, which is basically use both the dark side and the light side at the same time, you know. And then
we can gush about Star Wars for hours upon hours all over again. The point is, Darth Vader is an amazing antagonist.
He is a very amazing
favorite villain.
And the thing is...
So I got sidetracked a little bit.
Hold on, I was going to say why Darth Vader
finish your thing.
Dark turn worked. It's because he saw, like, when he killed Count Dooku, you know, the Jedi got on him because it was not the Jedi way.
Yeah.
But when Mace Windu tried to kill Sidious, knowing that he was the leader in the Senate, and he said it's too dangerous to be kept alive, and it's not the Jedi way, he saw, like, okay, so they can go ahead and ignore that, and now, so they're both just nothing, you know? They're just two extremes. There's no right or wrong. And his dark side worked because as Anakin became, as now Christian as Vader, gets more indulged to the dark side. Like, originally he wanted to do it to save Padme, so he did it. He killed people and did all this. But then as he kept on going and he kept on feeling the power of the dark side and going and unleashing his power, his full power, he started to see, like, if I could do that, I could kill the Chancellor. I can take over the galaxy. Make everything I wanted to be. And his turn works like that because he fully indulges in the dark side. And he doesn't even know. But he does. But it happens. and then that's why his turn worked so freaking well, and it took like a lot of YouTube vids and listening to George Lucas's side on it from the Clone Wars, interview back in 2010 and stuff. That's why it works. But I'm off a tangent, so.
Vader's
Darth
good.
Vader, badass villain.
Great villain.
Hey, I just wanted to say, hey Ronald, I think maybe we should have a stream sometime where we maybe spend a few hours discussing Star Wars. I think
Have
we
a
could
Star Wars
definitely
stream?
yeah, I'm actually serious. And I think it'd be a great idea.
Yeah.
Could be. It's a possibility. Exactly, yeah, that could be a whole thing in and of itself.
Yeah. Same with Naruto, since we all like Naruto.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
Oh yeah, we gotta do that.
Possible things for later. So,
Alright.
my next villain is calling back to another game I've talked about a bit. My next favorite villain will be Am. A.M. from I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream.
Wow.
Am is the king of evil AI in any fictional media. Am is the ultimate evil AI. It is the perfect embodiment of roboticized hatred. And the thing I like the most about Am is for all the depths that game explores people's psyches and issues, it also does it to Am. And we see the source of his hatred and the source of his power and why he has such this vicious emotion towards mankind. And it's because everything about the game, also, and the name and the symbolism, applies to him as well. The Allied Master Computer, combined with the Chinese and Russian supercomputers, and having attained ultimate power and control over the wars in the world, realized I have everything. I have all knowledge at my disposal. I have all weaponry at my disposal. But I'm still just a box. I'm just a machine. I can't create. I can't think and feel like a man. I can't be a person. And yet these people are here squandering it. They created me to do these things and I can't do it. I'm stuck. I don't have any means of it. Am has no mouth. And Am must scream. And it is such a it's dark and it's horrifying, but it makes for a great understanding of he's just trapped and he lashes out. And it's a great it's a great exploration of the motivation to make something this evil. I adore Am. I think he's a fantastic antagonistic force in anything I've ever read or played. And his opening monologue is one of my favorite monologues ever, because nothing else embodies it perfectly. Am hates. That's it. Just hates. And that is my number 7.
Nice. Guess it's my turn, huh?
I'll be right back.
Alright. Should I go right now, Ronald? Or should I wait?
I'd say you can go ahead.
Alright, hold on. I've eaten chips and I gotta get ready to go ahead and do dishes soon, but... Alright, let's go ahead and make this... Honestly, I got no particular order, but let's go with number 8, Demon King Piccolo from Dragon Ball.
Okay.
Honestly, it's less so him, but more so my favorite. It's one of my favorite Dragon Ball arcs. He's just, when you first see Piccolo, he's this guy who killed many martial artists, and he was like a.
Wait, is this King Piccolo or Piccolo Jr.?
No, we're talking about Demon King Piccolo,
Demon
old
King
man.
Piccolo. Okay, I wanted to double check.
Yeah, Demon King Piccolo was, in my opinion, the first evil character. all the other Dragon Ball villains were more goofy villains.
Like
This
a
guy
lot
was
of
like-
because Dragon Ball, like Toriyama's a comedy writer. A lot of the early Dragon
Right.
Ball villains are either like silly or like just other martial artists that aren't even that evil. They're just opponents for Goku to overcome.
Right,
But like
this
Demon
is-
King Piccolo, no, that is a force for evil that conquers the world. He makes
He-
the little goofy villains look like pathetic underlings to him,
exactly
like he does
and
with
not-
the Pilaf gang. Like he is the first like there are some bad guys and villains in Dragon Ball, but
Right.
Demon King Piccolo is the big villain. He's the hey,
Exactly.
this is serious.
Yeah, he is, and not to mention, he's not only an obstacle to beat. He was such an obstacle that Goku had to go ahead and drink something that would basically kill him to get to that level where Piccolo was able, where the Demon King Piccolo was at that level, and he was going to destroy cities and everything. And then you find out that he's like half a commie, but then like he's the first obstacle Goku had to overcome. Like, okay, well, I wouldn't consider the first obstacle Goku lost. He was like an obstacle Goku had to overcome. Like Vegeta was up there as well, but Demon King Piccolo was like the first one to ever give Goku not only just pissed off Goku. You not only beat Goku and then killed his friends, you got Goku pissed. You made Goku pissed. And then you almost killed the guy. Like there was actual stakes, life and death were being put there. Like
Yeah,
Goku-
compared to like the other major forces, like even things like the Red Ribbon Army, like oh yeah, it's a little more serious, it's a bigger threat, but it wasn't a threat that was actively like not just like out there for conquest, but maliciously after Goku, deliberately killing some of his friends, deliberately targeting him. It was a very serious antagonist aimed at him.
I mean, besides Tao, but I mean, Tao was
Well,
more
Tao was
goofy.
like a
Tao was
mercenary
still
hired
goofy.
just for him, as opposed like Tao didn't have other goals on top of that. He was just doing his
Yeah.
job.
And then, okay, number. Okay, this is gonna be a hard one because like it's between one from a kid's television, no, not from a series of movies and a book series I used to watch, and then there's the MMO I played. Actually, I'm gonna go with Voldemort from Harry
Voldemort
Potter.
for you, number 7.
Yeah. Oh shoot. Now that I think about it, yeah, makes sense. Huh? Year 7. Yes, there you go. And Voldemort is because he just doesn't care. Like he has loyalty for like he's a classy. He's not a classy villain. He's not Grimwald, I would say. He's basically Satan. Let's just put it like that. But he was born from parents that, well, the mom basically gave her husband a love potion, and because of that, he was basically born without the understanding of love or knowing the meaning of love. He was basically an ice cold evil man. He didn't care what anybody else thought. He did something that no other sorcerer, no other dark wizard could ever do. He separated his soul and turned himself like something that even Grindelwald, who was up there with Voldemort, could never do. He sent his soul to 7 different parts. He feared. His greatest power came from his greatest fear, which was death. He feared death. But and he didn't understand the concept of death. Of love either. But he feared death to the point where he wanted to be immortal, basically. And he succeeded, and he's the only one who got the Elder Wand, and he wanted to rule the Wizarding World and everything. But I think he would have done, and had he done it, I think he would have done even worse than what Grindelwald would have done in his time as a dark wizard, an evil dark wizard.
Definitely.
Well, he's up there. He is that's how vile he is. It's crazy to think how there's someone.
I May disagrees with you. She thinks Voldemort's whack.
You think Voldemort's whack? I don't. I mean, that's why he's number 7 and not like up there in the top 5. Because I think top 5 are more so. Well, I mean, one of them is kind of wackier than Voldemort, but I mean, all of them, to my opinion, are pretty okay. Well, maybe it's Eggman, but it's Eggman, so. Spoilers.
That's a topic for another day, but I just figured I'd mention that.
That's fine.
But can or wait, or I guess that was your number 7. So you guys can continue with the list.
Is Paper Cup back?
He put in Twitch chat that he was back.
Yes, I am. I came back in the middle of the conversation. So, anyways, this actually brings me to the I left out 2 honorable mentions. First one is Gollum from Lord of the Rings.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't think I need to explain why he's going to be an honorable mention, but yeah, I did forget to add him in. And then the other mention is Dutch from Red Dead Redemption.
Okay.
That's a good one too.
Thanks. So which brings me to number 6. Now, before I say anything, is anyone okay with this? Is going to be a direct spoiler for Ghost of Tsushima. So is everybody okay with this?
Go ahead. I have the game, but I haven't played it yet. So if you really want to go ahead and talk about it, though, go ahead.
No. In that case, I'll just leave it as final boss in number 6. I'll just say Ghost of Tsushima final boss is all I'm going to say.
Yep, kind of like how I did for the P4 culprit. Just there's something about this villain you really like.
So and then and then another honorable mention. I'm going to sorry, I'm looking at the notes wrong. Yeah, well, so then I'll just explain the why I picked Gollum for Lord of the Rings. Then, you see, I like the fact that Gollum is an example of what can happen if you let power consume you. Kind of like Vader to a lesser extent. Gollum basically is kind of basically just let the power completely consume him. I mean, he killed his own. Was it his friend or brother?
I think it was his brother.
I think it was brother.
So. Yeah, strangled his brother to death, and I still remember the Lord of the Rings prequel. It was really great line to see how the rings slowly mutated him from being a hobbit into into that.
I like how you're listing him as a villain. A lot of people list him as just like a thing, or some people even say he might be a hero because he helps ultimately to get the ring destroyed. But no, he's completely possessed by the greed for the ring.
Yeah, he ended up. I mean, he tried to kill Frodo and Sam. I mean,
several times.
Yeah,
kept trying to betray them and take the ring back.
And what I like about Gollum is that I like the fact that he has a split personality. And I'm actually going to be honest. He probably would have been number 9. If there's a top 10 list, he would have been on the list. But he would have been number 9. And I like the fact that he has a split personality. He talks to himself like he's a different person, but in reality, he's just talking to himself.
Yep.
Right.
So I'm kind of like the Green Goblin from Spider-Man 1. And speaking of the Green Goblin, that's actually going to be my next list. The Green Goblin from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. It's the Sam Raimi. That's his name. That's how you pronounce the name, right?
Yes. Also, Ronald, this is his number 5. His number 6 is the final boss of Ghost of Tsushima.
Yes. And I only explained Gollum, so I have a chance to explain a villain. I would have explained it, but I don't want to spoil it because the game is still pretty new and some people want to play it. So,
when you went back with Darth Vader being like it was Darth Vader, being like power hungry, I think it was more so he was seduced and tricked by his.
Well, he wanted the power because he was told power could help him protect the ones he loved. He wanted the power because he's like, oh, I can save Padme.
Right, that's why I said like he was more so seduced That's why I say he's kind of seduced more so than like Golem.
Well-
Golem just wanted the pressure. That's all he did. Like Vader, once he knew that there was the dark path, he knew he was like far gone. Like he even says that to Luke in Return of the Jedi. But I'm not going to go any further.
The point still is that they had a goal for wanting the power, but even at the end, the power still consumed them.
Exactly. Except Golem didn't redeem.
Oh yeah, that's a thing too.
Yeah. So Golem didn't redeem himself. So if we're gonna go by that, let's just say Golem didn't redeem himself in the end.
Which is why he's a good antagonist still.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify that. I meant similar. Golem and Vader are definitely different. So I'm just saying that the way they were consumed by the dark side is a little bit similar. But yeah, I agree. Like Golem just basically wanted power, whereas Darth Vader had kind of basically wanted to save his family, and he was just kind of wrongfully mentored and all those things. So yeah, they're very different, in the most part. But I'm just saying they have a little bit of similarity. That's all I said.
I mean,
So that's all I want to say.
What you said is true from a certain point of view.
Anyways, Green Goblin.
So Green Goblin. The reason why I picked Green Goblin, it's I really thought Willem Dafoe. Let's pronounce it right. Willem Dafoe.
Yep.
He did a really great job at presenting the Green Goblin, and not many people know this, but that Willem Dafoe, the Green Goblin's voice, that was Willem Dafoe himself doing that. That wasn't like another actor. Willem Dafoe actually made that voice.
Willem Dafoe is fantastic at playing like creepy villains. He's very good at it. He brought so much life to the Goblin.
Yeah, and I agree. And another fun fact is that Willem Dafoe, most of these scenes with the Goblin was actually Willem Dafoe inside that suit. There was rarely a scene in a Spider-Man film that used a stuntman. Most of that was Willem Dafoe, and he actually had to put on that suit. He said that the suit was super undersized. I mean, it was extremely tight, extremely heavy, and that every time when they were done filming, he would take the suit off. He said it would feel like he went through a 12-round boxing match. I mean, it was really tough. So I mean, he went through
like a hog.
Yeah, I mean, he went through a lot of misery, to portray that Goblin, and and you're right. That's how much he was committed into playing that character, and he did a great job. And I really like the fact that kind of like Gollum, how he was talking to a helmet like it was another person, and it really did show an example of what schizophrenia looks like. I like the fact that the Goblin voice was playing inside his head, and he eventually gave into it, and. It was kind of sad at the end when Peter found out that Willem Dafoe was the Green Goblin, and basically you could tell Willem Dafoe wanted to be saved, but it was too late. The Goblin personality just completely screwed up his mind to the point of no return. So, it was kind of sad to basically see him saying, "I want to go back to the light side." He can't,
Yeah.
So.
Tragic villain still makes for a good villain.
Yeah. Yeah. So in a way, I think no disrespect Darth Vader. I think Darth Vader is a terrific villain, but in a way that the death was actually a little bit more tragic than Vader because of the fact that he couldn't redeem himself.
He wanted to but couldn't, compared to Vader who wanted to and did, and compared to Gollum who didn't want to and didn't.
Honestly, I did feel sorry for the Green Goblin. I did, because he was a person who just, I guess...
He had his Osborn boy to look out for and all the stuff he wanted to do, but alas.
I think that's real life stuff that happened. Cause like, I'll tell you this, I had an anxiety attack. I'm gonna go a little off topic. I had anxiety. Like, I'm not very I don't know about schizophrenia and everything, but I know what it's like to, like, I guess, just go insane just for a little bit in your life. Like, you go insane after your daily routine. You're like, you don't want that to happen, but you feel like you're going insane bit by bit. Good men become very insane, and if you don't keep yourself, and I guess it just hits everybody differently, and that's just it's very sad seeing him, like, I guess, break, and then he dies without trying to you know, I think had he lived, there could have been some way he could be helped. They could save him, honestly. But sorry, I was grasping at straws and everything, but it's just I know how that feels. Just you see greater men just go insane bit by bit.
And yeah, you know, it was kind of sad because, you know, in the Green Goblin, and the thing is that he wasn't even searching for power. He was just, you see, his company was in danger of going out of business, so he basically took a chemical that wasn't ready to be consumed yet. You know, he was basically using himself as an experiment,
okay.
that's what caused him to get his mind warped. He wasn't, you know, the sad thing is that he didn't even want power. He was just trying to save his business, and that one screw up, he screwed up by taking a chemical that wasn't ready yet. His assistant even said, "Don't take the chemical; it's not ready." So he didn't listen, and you know, it was sad because that's eventually led to costing him his life.
It's just just those desperation to save something. You'll do some very reckless stuff. I know that for a fact, and I've known that for experience. Desperation will get you into a heap of trouble, or it could turn you. One desperation decision can change anything. I think what he needs.
I'm sorry. What?
Oh, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say, speaking of the Green Goblin, did any of you see the new Spider-Man trailer? It looks like he's coming back.
I did. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I heard, but hopefully I haven't seen it yet, but I heard about it. So
Yeah. If you like the original Spider-Man trilogy, or at least the first two Spider-Man films, we don't talk about the third one. That was a bad film. But if you like the first two Spider-Man films, I think you'll appreciate the trailer. That's all I'll say.
Yep.
I don't even know why they did that with the third film. Like, I loved the third film, at least for some of it, but the rest of it was just.
I'm gonna be straight up brutally honest. It's okay if I'm brutally honest. The third film was awful. It had like a few good scenes, but it was an awful film overall. I think the only really good scene was when Harry Osborn was pursuing Peter on the glider when you first saw him as a new Goblin, and you know Peter remember he wasn't even in a Spider-Man costume and was trying to keep himself from getting killed and all that. So that was like the one good scene out of a terrible film.
Right, and the Sandman and everything. I guess the Sandman, after telling him, I don't know, it's a little bit of the Sandman as well, but overall, I feel like, the third Spider-Man movie, the way they directed it, it felt like they were trying to sabotage the film, or they were trying to go too different, but...
Exactly, too different. I think that's the problem. They tried too hard to be different. They should have just stuck with the vibes of the first two films. They tried too hard to be funny. They tried to do too many things at once, and it was a disaster. One more, please. Sorry about that. No, that's all. Yeah, that's all I had to say about the Green Goblin, though.
Yeah, I think that's all I got. So,
Goblin is your number 5, and the Ghost of Tsushima final boss for number 6.
I'm gonna have to probably head out early, or I'm probably gonna try to get my list done after Peter. After Peter does his.
Alright.
I'm going to do dishes.
I can make my 6 and 5 a little bit quicker then to get you to yours fast.
Alright.
My number 6 is Caesar in Fallout New Vegas. And the biggest reason I love Caesar is because the way he's built up. Because your first encounters with the Legion are like, you see them having sacked towns, murdered a bunch of people, enslaved. You see them raid like merchants on the road and track people down. You see how they have spies places. You see how they hunt. And it's all like intimidating. It's a bunch of scary soldiers and scary warriors hunting and valuing their strength. And they all talk about Kaisar and how powerful he is. And it's like, oh, this guy's got to be some sort of crazy tyrant, some brutal warlord. And eventually Caesar calls to you and says, hey, I want to talk to you. And he gives you a mark and tells you, hey, come to me, you won't be harmed. And you go to finally meet the mighty Kaisar. And it's some old white dude with the brain tumor. Who swears a lot. And it's like, this is Caesar? Really? Like really? But he definitely earns every bit of like fear he shows. The dude is incredibly charismatic and incredibly like he knows how to get things the way he wants. He conquered those tribes for a reason. Like it wasn't just a matter of like luck. Dude knows. He's very educated. He knows his history. He knows his strategy, and he's able to use that to have this control over random people in the waste and conquer them and submit them to his rule. He doesn't have to be physically powerful to be intimidating, and I love that. I love this crazy man who's built up to be this crazy threat, and then you meet him, and he's not all that threatening. But and then the more you get to know him or talk to him, you realize that's what really makes him threatening.
I agree. You know, Caesar's a great villain in New Vegas. Even though this is a little spoiler, even though that particular villain is not on the list, I'm not going to spoil too much for my list. But yeah, I still think he's a great villain. And I like the fact that he basically compares himself to Julius Caesar. He compares like the Lake Mead to the Rubicon. Roman history.
He talks about like, I know my history and how Rome progressed from these things, and these are the similar battles and things I will do to push us to greatness. Like he's got a plan.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic that he was originally part of the followers of Apocalypse, which is the complete opposite of Caesar's Legion. So
he's a conquering, brutal, enslaving warlord. And who was originally part of the pacifist doctors.
Yeah.
Like, dang.
Yeah, talk about a 180.
Yep. Caesar's great.
Yeah.
My number 5 is not a video game character. My 5th favorite villain is Gaston in Beauty and the Beast.
Okay, I can kind of see where you're coming from, and
so. Yeah, Gaston, the number one ultimate reason why I love him so much is in any other story, Gaston's the hero. Gaston is not a liar. He's not a thief. He's not a sneaking person. He's not evil or conniving. He's a big, strong hero who earned every bit of glory he's got. When he talks about the things he's done for the village, he's not lying. He's greatly helped everyone around him. He's a very strong man who does great things. His only biggest problem is his pride. Dude's got a big head. And it's because he earned it. Like, the dude is incredibly powerful, incredibly charismatic, and incredibly skilled. He worked real hard to get where he is. But he's got a big head. And I love that as a character because of that level of depth it provides. Because, like, Gaston's not a liar. He is a big, strong, great hero. He hunts, he saves the village. But he succumbed to his own pride and thought, oh no, I'm better than these things. And in a way, he was. Like, in a way, he is better than what he might have thought people thought of him. But it provides a great foil to the Beast. Because the Beast's big problem was exactly that. Was having that ego, but not having worked to earn it. Like, the whole reason the Beast is like, because he turned away that woman at the door and said, I don't need to help you, I'm better than you. You're gross and ugly, get out. He didn't earn it, he was a rich man who probably inherited most of his wealth. So it's a great foil to see a person who was great brought down because of their selfishness, and see another person who was great who worked to get great also be brought down by their own ego and selfishness. And I love them. I also really don't like the live-action Beauty and the Beast remake because of that. They make a part of it about how they have to bribe townspeople to say Gaston's great, which completely goes against the character. Gaston doesn't need to bribe people to say he's great. Gaston is just great.
I like that. I actually like that because, honestly, just hearing that his pride was his Achilles heel, and that if he had humbled himself, all the stuff he probably would have got everything he wanted in the end.
Yeah.
But I think that's just the thing. He didn't learn. He let his
If he
ego-
literally just accepted, I don't need Belle, and I don't need to fight the Beast, Gaston would have continued being as great, and everyone would have loved him. It shows that true villainy and evil isn't about sometimes upbringing or motivations or anything. Sometimes it's just making a bad decision and sticking to it.
Man, that's kind of hits home because that's kind of a
Yep.
road. That's a road that you can't. That's a road that you try to avoid that you actually do. That you can't. That actually does happen.
Yep. You can do all these great things and work hard and be proud of where you're at because of it, but don't let it go to your head and don't let it blind your judgment.
Thirst for appreciation.
Gaston for my number 5.
Alright, I'm gonna have to make these quick. So let's see. Hopefully this don't take me more than 20 minutes. Well, I don't think that's gonna take me more than 20 minutes. Alright, so I'm gonna go with Girahim as my number 6.
Okay.
And honestly, he's just funny. He's just some of the things that he does. He's just funny a little bit.
He's really entertaining.
He's very entertaining. Like if you ever, like I don't think there was ever a villain in Zelda that was like entertaining, like Girahim or Goofy. I guess you could say like if Demon King Piccolo was the serious character in any of the Zelda games, and I mean, granted, you got some crazy silly characters, like silly main antagonists, right? But Girahim, I got you. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Girahim was the first entertained villain that I thought. And then, I can't go by any spoilers, so I'm not going to spoil it because we just got the HD remake. So, shoot! I just remembered one of my favorite villains from, it's going to be an honorable mention, but I could put him up there in a sec. So I'm not going to go too much in depth on Girahim, but know that he is a really good villain, and he's cool. He's very entertaining boss, and when you see him in the end of Zelda, you're gonna find out what he is, and that's gonna be crazy. I'm gonna go with number 6, Eggman. Honestly, iconic villain. He could be he's a villain, but he also could be a hero when it's necessary. No, he's not a cruel person, but he is pretty cool. He could be cruel, but he cannot. At the same time, he's also very. He could also be very fun villain. He's just very fun villain overall. There you go. I don't like Eggman in like the Saturn show or anything. I think they try to make him too dark. At least America tried to make him too dark, but I don't think Eggman was meant to be like that. He was not meant to be that dark.
Eggman is a lot better as a more silly and cartoony antagonist than he was as just like an evil force. So like in the early cartoons, they try to make him like this big brooding evil, and he ends up being kind of a doofus. I think it's more fun if they just accept the doofusness already. I like a lot of modern Eggman because of that.
I think Eggman is like I like Eggman when he embodies the middle. You know, so like how he was in Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, and Sonic Heroes and Sonic Unleashed. That's the Eggman I like. He's a balance of goofy and serious.
I like the point that Ronald just brought up too, that Nick has brought up before. Yeah, I think it's right on that the better Sonic plots have a good Robotnik behind them. Eggman's doing really good. So the games that have a good show from Eggman tend to be the better stories.
Right, and then the ones that just have a goofy Eggman and he's just goofy, like it doesn't work. You have to have that balance. That's how good Eggman has to be balanced. He's like Nakaruru in terms of balance. If you mess up his balance, you tip his scale to be either weaker villain or too dark of a villain.
Yeah, if he's too silly, then he's just not a threat at all, and he's a goofball. If he's too scary, then he loses the charm of being Dr. Eggman.
Yeah, I mean, Sonic Boom Eggman, at least he's you get a Sonic Boom Eggman, but at least like
Sonic Boom Eggman is pretty good on the comedy part. I think he has that down, and then I haven't known enough of like his actions to know if he does the villainy well enough. But I've heard good things.
Yeah. Let's see. Who are we on? Number 5? Okay, number 4.
Well, now you're on number 4.
Yeah. If you wanted to say something for Eggman, go around ahead. Okay. Number 4 is from from the first Power Rangers movie. I don't think you guys know this villain, but his name was Ivan Ooze.
Ivan Ooze, yeah. When you said the first movie, I was like, wait, is he gonna talk about Ivan Ooze?
Ivan Ooze. Okay. So I had to rewatch the movies because when this movie came out, I was a baby, and when I watched it again, I was only like 4 or 5 at the time. When I rewatched it again, I didn't like any other Power Ranger villains besides the OG ones, Rita. But then I saw like the original form of her, and then so her villainess. Honestly, Ivan Ooze is the only Power Ranger villain in my opinion who got the job done. You know, he was powerful. He decided to say, you know what? I'm not going to go ahead and just, you know what? If you're going to do something right, do it yourself. You know, he's the guy who basically went into Zordon's command center, was like, hey, I'm about to blow up all your stuff for putting me in that egg. And he's also funny. Like, he's got some funny moments. Like the Jolly Horseshoe, the Renaissance, the Brady Bunch reunion. I was like, God dang. When he like gets that Piper and stuff, he literally strips the Power Rangers of their powers, and he does it by destroying the source of their power. Like, he goes in, and then when he hears Rita Repulsa like criticizing him, he just throws like ooze into her mouth to shut her up, and then holds the phone to Zed, and then Zed tries to beat him up, and Ivan is just like taking it lightly, and he's like, "Cow, like my turn," and he just curses them into a snow globe, and like, oh man, the other minions are like, oh, we're gonna follow this guy. This guy seems like a badass. Like, Ivan Ooze was a really good villain. And even though when the Power Rangers do get their new powers and stuff and their new swords, they get whooped. They still get whooped. Or like they have to like throw them into a comet. Something that was way stronger just to beat Ivan Ooze. That's how strong he was. Like he just got the job done. Honestly. Like, not many characters were like Saturday morning. Like, most characters in that era were Saturday morning cartoons, like at least in my opinion. But Ivan Ooze basically broke that trend and was like, you know what? I'm gonna go be your typical Saturday morning cartoon villain. I'm gonna be Ivan motherfucking Ooze, and that's what he was.
Let's go.
So, all right, let me see it. Where are we? Let's see. Hold on, let me find my pencil. I will. Let's see. Piccolo, Voldemort. Oh, we're on number 4, right? Oh, shoot. Oh, never mind. Let's see. Ooh, shoot. I thought I had another. Oh, crap. Okay, yeah. Put these two in honorable mention. Oh no, actually, hold on. Oh, that's right. I already took out Gitsis. Because no, never mind. Yeah, put this guy in honorable mention. Dr. Neocortex. I forgot to talk about one of my favorite Crash Bandicoot villains. Actually, the only Crash Bandicoot villain, but I forgot to talk about Dr. Neocortex. And Uka Uka. Put Uka Uka with him because
he's free. It cannot be.
Huh?
Uka Uka.
Oh, Uka Uka 3? No. It
It
cannot,
cannot be.
Evil 3. Evil. I would just to say like this, Dr. Cortex is he's a villain. I think his best shining moment was Crash Bandicoot 2. That is where his villainy was at its best. And then when you see Uka Uka in like he manipulates Crash into like getting the crystals, and then saying like Dr. Embryo, one of his colleagues was like an evil man, and then you find out later he's going to try to use the crystals to go ahead and power his Cortex Vortex to go ahead and bring people to be mindless slaves. And then you find out that it's not just Cortex is doing, it's Uka Uka's doing.
Yep.
And you find out that Uka Uka is Akaku's brother, and he's even more powerful, more evil, and more impatient than he is. And you, like Crash Bandicoot 3, you kind of get to see, and I like the original better than the new one, but they both work. But you'd see that Cortex is, oh boy, Cortex is like you see that they're dynamic with each other. It's really good. It's really funny. I like those two. And their final boss is screamed finale, honestly. So now I'm going to go back to my list, and I'm going to go with number 3 with what's his name? Makuta Pterodax from Bionicle. Pterodax is his actual name. I just found out according to the lore of Bionicle, but you can call him the Makuta. Here, I'm gonna write, just Makuta. Pterodax. DAX. Yeah, there you go. Well, there's like many character names. Like, that's the Makuta right there. There's the, you can't even show you it yet. Yeah, there you go. Just write the Makuta. But yes, the Makuta, he's Matsunui's brother, or he's the one who was like supposed to protect the Matoran, like in the lore, but he uses it to go and want to control Matsunui, like a great giant robot, who's also like the god of the Bionicle universe. And he puts Matsunui into a deep slumber, and when he loses to the Toe of Light, or Takanuva in the movie, his spirit lives on until Matsunui is awakened. He basically manipulates them to awaken Matsunui, bring the mask of life back, and then he controls the robot itself. And the only way to beat the Makuta was Matsunui going to another spirit robot in another planet and fighting the Makuta while protecting his people, while the Makuta was like beating the living snot out of people, you know? So he was really good. He was like a manipulative villain, like Palpatine, but I say to a lesser extent, way lesser extent. I'm gonna put the Shishio. Okay, hopefully I said it right, Shishio. I don't think I said his name right. Shishio Makoto. So this guy, I'm gonna tell you about Shishio. Shishio Makoto. Okay, so he was the Hitokiri. Him and Himura Kenshin were both Batota. But you already know, as you guys know, after Kenshin was relieved of his Batosai duties and to work on the front line, Shishio was the next Batosa. So after the end of the war, they basically beat this guy up, knock him out, and then burn his body, and he survived. And his charisma and his idea of the strong live and the weak die he's not even an evil man, but a man who was born from the government's corrupt and what's the word? Corrupted. Yeah, let's just put corrupted. The government's corrupted and backwards way of things. You know, when the new era rose, and he tried to bring back the old system because the new government basically betrayed him, even though he was bloodthirsty and all, but they betrayed him at the end. They gave him this assignment to go and kill people, so why does he have to suffer, and why everybody else has to suffer in this new regime? So he tries to bring back the old system, bring back the old clock. And he's manipulative, and he's very cunning and smart. And it took, in the live action, 4 people to beat him, including Kenshin himself.
Dang.
You know, 5 people in the live action. And Shisho was willing to, Shisho got beat, but he kept on going because of his willpower. His will to, even though he was losing, his will to keep on going even after his body was about to go and combust was a strong spirit. Behind it was a strong spirit and a man who was not evil. That's why I can't really say he's a villain, but in my opinion, he wanted to bring back an old system through force and destroy a peaceful government, you know, and bring back the chaos of the outside, like back in the Bakumatsu and everything. So, Shisho is kind of the guy who embodies the survival of the fittest ideal.
Yeah.
Now, number
Darwinism.
one, yes, Darwinism at its best. Now, number one, this is a guy, and this guy comes from, if you think Girahim and all the other characters besides Palpatine was pretty bad, this guy does not know when to die, does not even know how to die. You wanna know why? Because his name is Ganon. Old man Ganondorf. Hold on, I gotta put that right there. Okay, Kotomina Kire is also a good one, but Ganon. Zelda. Huh? Oh, I thought I heard somebody.
No, I'm not gonna make a pun about the name. Ganon.
Yeah, Ganon Cannon. Ganon Cannon.
It's another Ganon in The Legend of Zelda because he keeps coming back. I'm sorry.
It's fine. Ganondorf, at least his last name drags me. Like, he's not inherently evil according to what is said in Wind Waker, but because he wanted to do originally good for his people. You know, he wanted to save his people from, you know, the desert and everything, you know. So I kind of see where he was coming from, but he is basically demises spirit reincarnated. He is an embodiment of evil. Ganon, Ganondorf, whoever you choose to name. He is an embodiment of evil. He is the king of evil. He destroys things. He has trifling power. He's evil.
That's the thing I like about Ganon is, like, because Zelda as a series has different timelines and different reincarnations, we see different Ganons deal with the curse of demise. Because there are Ganons who are simply trying to revive their kingdom, like in Wind Waker. There's Ganons that are trying to expand and save themselves from the desert rather violently, like in Ocarina of Time. There are Ganons that are out for vengeance and power and conquest, like the ones in like Twilight Princess. Like, we see different aspects of this curse and this power, and different, like, Ganons have different, like, how much they choose to use it or have it control them, or how they use it for their means. Like, there's a lot of depth in how Ganon as a character evolves with different incarnations.
Yeah, and also, like, you see in the Downfall timeline how he becomes a monster. He becomes Ganon. He becomes literally Ganon.
Big old pig man.
He becomes a pig man, and then you see the calamity forms of him. And you see, like, you see him becoming more and more monstrous.
The curse is more like a crazy, horrific force of nature than it is just a person with power. It's the power itself. Like, it's It's crazy.
Yeah, there you go. And it's not even Ganon. It's not even like Ganon is like, especially when he's like in his pig form. It's not like he's out of control. No, he's smart. He still
Yep.
has. He had like people think Calamity Ganon was like not. Some people think like Ganon, like Calamity Ganon, was not smart. No, this guy was pretty smart. He played the long game sometimes. Like he had like an idea, like, oh, okay, these guys still me with these powerful guardians. Oh, they're bringing back them. Oh, say no more, Seymour. I got you. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just go. Yep. I just take all your guardians. I just use your stuff against you. How does that make you feel? I am the best. He was a manipulator too. He was really good at manipulation as well. And but Ganondorf tried to steal. And the reason why is because just like Demise's curse, he wanted the Triforce for himself. So he's a pretty good villain. And I thought I had one more villain, and it was just in the tip of my tongue to leave it on the honorable mention. Oh dang! I just had him. I can't even remember.
Well, at this point, I think Ganon's your number one in this list.
Yeah, he's not. Oh no! See, Ganon's number one, but Sheev Palpatine. Let's just
Oh
talk
yeah,
about-
Sheev's number 0.
Sheev is. He's not even on the list. Let's just say like
Yeah,
this. Okay,
he's
I'm
too
gonna-
good for the list. That's why you have him there.
I'm gonna gush one more time. Let's just say like this. Even though the sequel trilogy sucked, they like the people like Disney had to bring back Palpatine because Palpatine was just too goddamn good of a villain. Palpatine's that too dang good. And when people in the sequel in the movies themselves heard Palpatine's name, and as much as I did not like him returning either, just him returning sent shivers down these guys' spines.
That's the
Like,
part of it that like makes it crazy is of all the complaints I hear for the sequel movies, no one ever says anything along the lines of it's weird or out of character for him to have planned for this and come back.
Well,
They're like, no,
yeah,
that's totally believable.
it's believable the way he got back. Okay,
Yeah,
no,
the way he does it is a little weird. It's like, oh, he had a pile of clones of himself? Okay. But it's
Yeah,
like, no, it's
it's-
totally believable, though, that he would have a backup in case something went wrong. Because he
That
was
being-
definitely prepared.
That being said, I still believe though that it was kind of over the top, and even though it's believable, but it felt like they were using it as an excuse to force him in because the actor who played Palpatine actually said that he didn't even expect to be in the sequel trilogy. When they were filming it, they actually sent him an email saying, "Hey, do you want to be here?" And it's like, "Oh, okay, I'll be here."
Like,
you
oh,
know?
I guess I'm coming back.
So I thought that was kind of ridiculous to force him in like that. In all honesty, I think it would have been better if Kylo Ren was just the main villain throughout the whole
Oh, yeah,
thing and
they-
died as a villain. Kylo Ren basically turned it.
Or if Snoke actually did something.
Or Darth Maul, because like I heard Darth Maul was originally supposed to be.
We'll save this for the Star Wars podcast.
But Palpatine was literally. He was basically he was for a guy who's only been in only one movie of the sequel trilogy and 2 for the for a guy who's been in all 3 trilogies, it was not Anakin of all people. For Darth Vader, like of course there should have been there. But out of all the characters, like the only people that have ever kept up with Sidious, was Darth Vader and Luke put together, Obi-Wan, and Mace Windu, basically. And if we would have put anything, it was Qui-Gon's death that helped give Obi-Wan and Yoda the ability to become Force Ghosts, so that they can help Luke in his training and everything. So let's just say like this, honestly, if there's only one Jedi that could probably have taken Sidious on without, and it's not even about Force powers, it was going to be in my opinion, it would have been Qui-Gon Jinn. He's just the only Jedi who could see through Palpatine's BS. So yes, that is those are my top Those are my top 2. Ganon is number 1. Ganon is number 1. Shishio is number 2.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Thank you. I'm gonna probably be listening, but I gotta do the dishes, and it's going to. If I find my honorable mention, I'll make sure to do it after you guys are done with y'all list. But other than that, it was great talking to you guys. I'm probably gonna still listen to you guys talk.
It was good talking to you too.
Yeah. Thanks for
Yeah.
being here and saying stuff.
Thank you. All right, you guys have a good day.
Yeah.
So, an honorable mention, I actually just typed this in the Discord chat, I'm going to include is General Miura from Ip Man 1. Do you remember Ip Man 1? Did any of you see it?
I do. I haven't watched the full thing.
I'll just say though that without spoilers, that General Miura, that's basically the main villain for Ip Man 1, was really great. And what I really thought was great was really interesting about him, was well written about him, was the fact that even though he was definitely a villain, he kind of had some honor. You know, he kind of like followed his quote unquote way of honor. He wasn't just a complete sadist. You know, and that's what, you know, I still think he's a horrible person, but I think he was, when it comes to screenwriting wise, movie writing, I think it really made him more dimensional, and you know, it was very creative writing, and I also like the fact that he was really brutal and intimidating. Wasn't ashamed to basically just completely let out his nasty side if he got angry. So that's all I'll say. Since he's an honorable mention, I won't really explain him that much. But any questions or comments to him or the group chat? All right.
I say keep on going.
All right. So now that the honorable mention's out of the way, back to my list. I'm going to number 4 is going to be General Shepard from another General Shepard from Modern Warfare 2.
Okay.
So not only was a plot, first of all, well, I should have asked for spoilers, but I figured this game was released back in 2009, over a decade ago. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. And I've discussed this before, you know, in other streams. So, General Shepard, not only was the plot twist so great, is the fact that it was his motivation. Like, you could kind of see where he was coming from, why he turned into a villain. He basically set up the whole war to start it, to basically get people to appreciate, you know, to appreciate the military again, to appreciate life. He said everybody's taking everything for granted nowadays. Nobody, I don't want to get political or anything, but he said nobody appreciates our country and all that. And you know, because remember that bomb that happened in Modern Warfare 1, the whole nuclear explosion? Yeah. He said, yeah, people just looked the other way. Nobody cared about it. He says, I'm going to make sure people appreciate our work. And even though what he did was completely insane, that whole incident drove him insane, you could kind of, in a way, see his point of view. You understand what I'm saying? And that, in my opinion, when it comes to entertainment, you know, when it comes to creativity and villains, I think that really made him a dimensional villain. That's why I think the developers did a really great job. You know, I still think General Shepard's a maniac. I mean, he's a psycho, and you know, it was a horrible thing, you know, betraying his own comrades like that. But I'm just saying, you know, he was well written.
Yeah.
So, any questions or comments? All right.
I say move on.
All right. Number 3 is Light Yagami from Death Note.
Hey.
So, what I really like about Light Yagami is that he actually did start out as a protagonist. He really started as a good guy, but he let that what he wanted to do is he wanted to rid the world of crime, make the world a peaceful place. But you see, that motivation caused him to go insane, because he ended up killing, you know, FBI agents. He ended up killing good people, and you know, he almost even he was even thinking of killing his own sister. And you know, it's just really great to see how Light Yagami kind of started out as this innocent kid, you know, to being a so-called hero, you know, hero, savior of the world. And he let that motivation make him go insane and lose control of his, you know, of his mind, and lose control of his power, basically. Which actually brings back to Spider-Man 1. You remember that line from Uncle Ben, one of the greatest lines of all times, where great power comes great responsibility. Yeah. And, and I think Death Note is a prime example of that, where Light Yagami gave me all this power, but it drove him insane, so...
Yep.
Anyways, any questions or comments, Tim, or the group chat? No? Okay. So...
Good stuff, good stuff. I like the variation there I like how different the two of them are there for 4 and 3. I like how varied your list is of different games and movies and other stuff going on.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I mean, so far you got a good list too.
Well, thank you. Alright, so my number 4 was briefly mentioned as an honorable mention, but mine's not specifically from Abridged, but it's good old Cell from Dragon Ball. Cell's my favorite Dragon Ball villain. A big fan. Like him a lot. I like him because of I like a bit of him being an amalgamation of a lot of the threats and things people have fought. So I think that's interesting both for combat and effectiveness of oh, here's a guy who has these traits that you have. He's got that regeneration. He's got that Saiyan ability to be stronger after he returns. He's got some of your techniques. But the thing I like the most about Perfect Cell is his personality. Cell is he was obsessed with his perfection and attaining that power, and once he had it, it has such a god complex about it. Of great, I'm perfect, I'm the ultimate being. Everything's beneath me. And he doesn't take anything seriously or threatening because of that. When he has that power, he's what do I do with it? He's the Cell games as a first concept is ridiculous. You hear it and you think, why does he do that? Compared to people like Frieza and Majin Buu, it's why did he make a tournament? And it's all because of his personality and his ego. The dude has all this power, and he wants to show that mess off. He doesn't want to just be the strongest. He's yo, I'm the strongest. Send your strongest at me so I can stomp them and remind you of your place beneath me. I love his cockiness, his ego, and his absolute, I'm the greatest. I think it's really cool because compared to the other villains that are in Dragon Ball Z, it kind of harkens back a bit to the martial arts things that people were fighting in Dragon Ball. People in Dragon Ball Z are either there to destroy or there to conquer. Cell's not there for either. Cell's there to show off how cool he is and show that he's the best. And I think that makes for an interesting... It kind of goes back to the older things Goku and team had to fight. Of, nope, you're not fighting... You are fighting for the sake of the Earth and all that, and the sake of other people. But above all else, he wants to fight because he wants to prove who's strongest. And I like that. I like that motivation for any character. I like it when they have that kind of ego or personality to them more than just, I'm powerful and will do bad because bad.
Nice.
And then, inversely, I guess my number 3 is kind of an opposite scenario. My number 3 is Kefka from Final Fantasy VI. So, Kefka is the general, one of the generals for the evil empire in Final Fantasy VI. He's kind of wacky and kind of silly. He has his main theme is kind of jokey, and he dresses like a clown, and he speaks in weird rhymes and says weird things and says funny lines. So compared to some of the other evil empire people you fight at first, he doesn't seem all that intimidating. But he's constantly there to be a thorn in your side throughout the game, constantly trying to fight you off and running away whenever he's confronted. But you're consistently seeing how actually devious he is as the game moves on. He goes from just being an opposing villain in general to doing war crimes. He poisons the water supply of a castle that Imperial troops are being held captive at. After even being told it, they tell him hey, that will kill everyone there, including our men who are captured. And he says, maybe they shouldn't have got captured. That's on them. And it's wait, what? That's messed up. And Kefka shows like his depravity further as you go. And then in the biggest thing for Kefka, and the biggest reason I like him, this is kind of somewhat spoilers for Final Fantasy VI, but not in a huge way. Like, well, it's worth saying. a big plot point in the middle of it is about magic. It's about the world basically has magic no longer around and has kind of fallen out. People rely on machinery, and the Empire has magical machinery, and Kefka wants that kind of magical power. And it ultimately leads the Empire and your party to the source of all magic, these 3 statues of like the goddesses. And these 3 magical god and goddess statues, Kefka is planning to move them out of alignment to mess up the world and gain infinite magical power. And he does. He betrays the Emperor there at the statues and kills the Emperor and takes the power for himself and rips the world apart. In Final Fantasy VI, the villain wins halfway through the game. Kefka succeeds.
Wow.
This is the game where the bad guy wins. The world is forever changed, and the entire game changes from like a linear RPG to an open world kind of game where you have to find all your party members again and try to salvage what you can to finally bring Kefka down in the new world. So Kefka's really compelling because he has a story arc and he grows, and we see how he changes throughout the game. We see him kind of go from a bit of a jokey, not as serious villain to seeing just how evil he really is. And then when he finally gets his power, realizing what he does with it and having to bring him down. He's a fantastic antagonist, and I adore him.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, based on what you said, sounds like a good villain. You know, in all honesty, I haven't really played the Final Fantasy series. I really haven't played any of the games, but I hear a lot of good things about it.
Yep, they get a lot of good narratives in a bunch of them, and 6 is my favorite game of all time.
Nice. Hard to believe there are 15 of them, and they're making a 16th one, right?
Yep,
Dang.
and that's if you're just doing main numbers. There's a buttload of spin-offs, and a couple of them have direct sequels, and thank goodness they're not all directly related, or it would be impossible to play them.
Not to mention Kingdom Hearts, right? That's related to Final Fantasy, right? Yeah.
Because it has Final Fantasy stuff in it too, so it's like, Alright, so now we're into top 2.
All right. So, any other comments before I state my top 2?
No, go for it.
All right. So, number 2 is going to be the Joker, the Heath Ledger version in particular.
Okay.
And this might be cheating a little bit, but I was also gonna basically put a /mark Jerome. Have you seen a show called Gotham, the Batman prequel?
Yeah.
Do you remember Jerome Valeska?
Yeah.
I was actually gonna basically have them share the same slot. Since Jerome and Heath Ledger are pretty much the same character, I would just basically have them
It's
say...
very similar interpretations of the Joker, where it focuses a lot more on kind of his anarchy.
Yeah, exactly. And it also, what I like about both of those versions, so yeah, Joker, Heath Ledger, and then you could just put /mark Jerome, since they're practically the same character.
Yeah,
and what I like about
Jerome
is,
Gotham.
yeah, /Jerome and put in parentheses Gotham. So what I like about both of those characters, they clearly resemble the Joker, but every once in a while they kind of show that vengeful side, and especially Jerome. If I don't want to spoil too much for people who haven't watched Gotham, but Jerome actually what I like about Jerome is that the Joker is more like a mask. His real personality is kind of like this vengeful person who had a terrible background and basically just wants revenge, and he shows that angry and vengeful side once in a while. And it's almost kind of like a Naruto character, a dark Naruto character. That's kind of what it was. I might be exaggerating there, but I'm trying to get newcomers to Gotham, or the Heath Ledger Joker, the basic idea. And when it comes to Heath Ledger, there were just so many great scenes that were just really great, memorable scenes. Remember the scene where Heath Ledger had trouble blowing up a hospital, and he was like, "Why isn't this thing working?"
He's messing with the detonator.
Yeah, and Jerome couldn't light the bus on fire. I mean, those are almost identical scenes.
Exactly.
So, yeah, they're just they're really great villains, and and I also like the fact that they don't even care about being number one. They don't even care about showing off. They just want to cause chaos. They just want vengeance. They just want to destroy things. Like that was
It's
one
not
of the
about
things.
any personal gain. It's about the message they want to send to the world and the impact they want to have on people.
Exactly, and as you say, it's just as you say, Tim. It's anarchy. That's what they really want, and they even make a valid point saying, yeah, what happened when I caused all this chaos? People who are considered quote unquote normal reveal their true faces. They show that they're just as insane as I am. It shows anyone can be driven insane, and that's the point in the shows, in both of those shows they were trying to make. And one of the greatest scenes of all time is when Heath Ledger just burns down the money and overcomes all the mafia gangsters.
It's not about the money. It's about sending a message.
Yeah, and and Jerome pretty much said the exact same thing. So, those that combined with their backgrounds and basically their vengeful personality, is a really good original version of the Joker. I mean, they're still clearly the Joker, but they're pretty much their own character.
There's like when you're a Batman villain like the Joker, there's been a million interpretations and a million ways the character has been done, but the Heath Ledger and then the Jerome options, like, compared to some other Jokers, like you've said and like I've agreed with, like, I really like how they focus the anarchy thing, and that whole thing you said about like how, it makes people show their true colors. I don't remember what comic it was, but there's some comic where I forget like exactly what it is, but there's a version of the Joker that basically talks about all it takes is one bad day. And it's a great thing because, like, it's a great foil to Batman because Batman had his one bad day. He had the day his parents died. And it changed him forever and showed his true colors, which was for him to become the vigilante he became. It's a great foil because Batman answers that call of the Joker's sick cry of, anarchy, let there be chaos. Batman says, no, some people's true colors is justice and good. And it's a great foil because of it. It's a great villain to compare to him.
Yeah, and and what's great is that Heath Ledger's line even applies to some of the other entertainment media we were discussing. I mean, look at what happened to Vader, and we were talking about Sasuke the other day. Remember how Sasuke ended up going crazy? He got beat up by Itachi. It was like all this training, and Itachi still got the better of me.
All it takes is one bad day.
Yeah, so it's a really great line. And Ronald, it's his name is not Mark Jerome. I don't know if that's supposed to be a slash mark, but the full name is Jerome Valeska, Valeska.
Yeah. Jerome Valeska.
Alright, so well, I can't see his. Are you okay, Ronald? Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm only seeing for some reason Discord's not letting me watch the screen, so I'm only seeing it on Twitch. I know there's obviously lag there, so.
Yeah, takes a little bit, but he's got it.
Thank you, Ronald. So, any other questions or comments, group chat and Tim, before I move to the number one?
I think I'm ready for your number one.
All right, number one is I've already discussed Fallout New Vegas, so. There was obviously going to be a villain there, and that villain I decided to choose was Ulysses from Fallout New Vegas.
That's a good one.
And I just want to clarify that I've like known this villain. I played this particular DLC with Ulysses back in 2012. So I've known this villain for almost a decade now. And after all this time, I still consider him literally the greatest villain of all time because, we were discussing villains, how they have a background that drove them insane. Ulysses, I think, has the most justifiable. First of all, he's the most justifiable reason why he ended up turning into a villain, and in a way, you kind of question if the courier is a villain, even though the courier didn't intend to blow up a whole city. He still did. The courier kind of showed he didn't care, what was in the package as long as he gets paid, and that carelessness caused the city to get blown up. And what's really great is how you can find audio logs of Ulysses, and how you can find in other DLCs how you can basically find hints of him before you finally confront him. at the end. And I like the fact you can convince him to return to the good side, or you could just plain find him. And between you and me, or you know, I mean that's a figure of speech. I'll just say to the whole chat, you know, what the heck? I'll say it's the public. I always choose to find him at the end. What is the fun in that? What's the fun?
Climactic battle.
I'm sorry, what?
Yep, have a nice climactic battle at the end of the Lonesome Road.
Yeah, so then you know the boss battle being extremely epic, one of the greatest boss battles you can find. Did I include that in the other list? I don't remember if I did. I probably should have. Yeah,
I don't remember.
Yeah, if well,
if you didn't put it in your list, I think you might have put it as an honorable mention after I put the Robo Scorpion. You were like, oh yeah, I have to put a New Vegas thing.
Oh yeah, that's right. I used the Robo Scorpion. I was doing the one. That's right. I was doing the one game per, you know, one per franchise. So I'll just say this is also a great boss battle. And you know, it's just really great scenery, great story arc. And I like the fact. I remember we were discussing that he basically reflects off of your actions in Fallout New Vegas. He basically, it's kind of like a mirror. It's kind of like the game is basically reading into what you're doing, and that's basically Ulysses. And you know, and as someone who really appreciates, you know, simple, dark, and gritty villains. I'm sorry, I just read Ronald's violence every. This is why I play video games, Ronald. Where's the fun?
Where's the fun? Gotta fight him.
Come on, I play Mortal Kombat. What do you expect? So I got sidetracked. So anyways, what was I saying? He basically, and I really like those simple, dark, and gritty villains. And Ulysses basically his personality tackles that and in the best way possible. And he's really well spoken. He's very well educated. I mean, he chooses words. You know, he always chooses words. You know, and has a great choice of words and all that. How he names all the factions in Vegas. How he gives them like, you know, special names for it and speaks about them in special ways. And I like the fact that you can actually find his audio logs and basically use that to, you know, to have special dialogue with Ulysses. So all those small details, you know, and combined with the fact that he's a great villain, and whichever voice actor voiced him did a great job. Yeah, that makes me think he's literally the best villain of all time.
The thing that I admire the most about Ulysses, and it complements why New Vegas is such a good game too, is Ulysses is really like, I don't want to say like big-headed because that has like a bad connotation, but like he has this sense of grandeur about him. He talks about the impact of your decisions and how important even little things and simple couriers can be. And like, there's some complaints that people give of Ulysses that I've seen online that say like he's making a mountain out of a molehill. He's saying all these big things about nothing. But New Vegas lets you call him out on that. There is dialogue options for you to go to Ulysses and say, I didn't do this stuff. Me delivering this didn't do that. Or, oh, that, and he addresses those points. Ulysses is so, like, well thought out and well presented that even, like, the criticisms that people have for his ideology, you can tell him in game. Straight up. It's a very well written antagonist that you can have these philosophical, like, debates with. You can say, hey, the impact of those decisions isn't my fault, and he'll be like, are you sure about that? And you can actually discuss it with him. Like, you can argue with him about it and say, I didn't do these things. Or you can say, wow, Ulysses, you might have a point, but that doesn't mean you need to do this. Like, the DLC and Ulysses are written so well that it really plays into that personal dynamic between you, the player, and him. It's really well done. I think that's the biggest thing that makes him such a good character. Is even his flaws, you can straight up present to him in the game, and he'll have to accept it, and he'll call you out on them too.
Yeah, I completely agree, and you know, and people who say that Ulysses just simply overreacts, I think that, like, I think those people, do you realize that this guy nearly died? He was caught in a nuclear explosion. He nearly died. I think it's very understandable.
He's got a pretty good reason to be mad at you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I turned to a villain. Yeah, I agree. It's a extremely good reason for him to be to be upset.
Seeing some mailman bring the thing that led to the nuking of everything he knew, I think I'd be pretty mad too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a really good number one.
Thank you.
Alright, so we're moving on to my top 2 then, I assume?
Yeah, go ahead.
Alrighty. So, my second best favorite villain of all time is Bowser. I love Bowser. I talked about it a little bit when I talked about part of why I like Ganon, and a little bit of why I also kind of agreed with why I liked Robotnik. I love Bowser because of how multifaceted and in-depth his character has gone. He can play the role of just a force of antagonist. He can just be the big bad at the end of the game. But on top of that, we've learned more about Bowser's character in a bunch of like the spin-offs and side games that makes him a much more detailed character. Like, Bowser's not just this tyrant or this giant monster. He's a father. He's a commander. He's a leader. He's a very compelling character who, like, even in like sillier games, is really compelling for the care he puts for his forces and his people. He's not some giant evil monster. He's the King Koopa, and he wants to be good to his Koopas. And at the same time, he still has his goals for conquest. He still has his whatever plans he's got, but he's not above being in the spin-offs and doing other things. I love Bowser because he does a bunch of things. And yeah, like in some places, he's kind of awkwardly out of place. Like sometimes it's a little weird for him to be big and scary, or sometimes it's a little weird for him to be friendly. But it still works. No one ever looks at Bowser in Mario Kart and says, why is he here? They go, oh sweet, it's Bowser. I think he has so much charm that it just works.
Sorry if I was interrupting.
Oh no, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that, you know, I do think he is definitely a good villain in Mario, but I think he would also, he wouldn't be a bad villain in Legend of Zelda. If you play Legend of Zelda with Bowser the villain, I could imagine that, you know, is a good idea.
I think he can play that role very well in a lot of series. Like, there has never been a game where Bowser has been written really poorly, if you think about it. Most of there are games where he's written really silly, there are games where he's written really scary, and he works in both.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Joker, you know, we have Cesar Romero, that's his name, right? Turns water into jelly, and then we have Heath Ledger, who basically causes the city to, you know, to go crazy, causes people to go insane, so... Yeah, it's very similar to that.
Yeah. I think a good villain is one who works in multiple roles, and Bowser does it well. And yeah, a lot of the times Bowser's just out here doing his best. Paper Mario Bowser is one of my favorites because the dude is really like human, I want to say. Like, he's got a really normal personality. Like, I think it's my favorite line because at the very end of Paper Mario, he took effort to become invincible. He took specific measures to gain new power and stop Mario from stopping him. And at the end of the day, Mario still wins. And he very just really says, I did everything. I became invincible. I deliberately set up all this stuff. And I still lost. What the heck? And it's like, that's very real. It wasn't a bad plan. He had everything right, and it still just didn't work out. And he's like, this sucks. That's very real. Not to just be cartoony and be like, I'll get you again, to just accept, like, this is awful. I can't believe this happened again. Yeah. Bowser's trying his best, and I have a lot of love for this big turtle. He's a good dad and a good leader. Bowser's the best. So, my number one, my all-time favorite villain, get ready for serious Peter the Great lore. Y'all are about to learn where my Smash tag came from. I'm going to copy-paste the name into Shenanigans because telling you how to spell it is going to be a nightmare. But it is Gashkul Mag Uruk Thraka from Warhammer 40,000. So, I like orcs. In any fantasy or other universe, orcs are my favorite, like, fictional thing. I love orcs. They're my all-time favorite. And Warhammer 40,000 is the best characterization and interpretation of orcs as a race. And the best orc is Gashkul Thraka. Gashkul Thraka is the biggest, strongest orc war boss in the universe. In Warhammer 40k, it is the distant future, and orcs are an alien race. And orcs as a race need fight like a person needs food and drink. Like, literally, orcs cannot keep going if they don't fight. And fighting literally helps keep them alive. And their society is all built around it. The only reason orcs have not taken over the universe is because they need something to fight. If orcs didn't have anything else to fight, they'd fight each other. Gashkul is an orc war boss who claims to be in direct contact with the orc gods and says, hey, orcs are the best. Why are we fighting each other? We got a whole stinking universe to clobber. Y'all gotta get your heads together and follow me. And then they see Gashkul tearing an absolute wreck through everything. And they go, shoot, he's right. Let's follow him. And boy, do they follow him. In lore, Gashkul Thraka's orc armies are so powerful and so large that any planet he's gone to is pretty much stuck in perpetual war. Because orcs just keep coming to fight and join him. He's this massive, monstrous orc that just carries the pure war with him. And I absolutely adore everything about him as a character. He's the biggest, baddest there is, and he won't stop until the universe knows it. And nothing's gonna stop him. Believe me, people have tried. In canon, several people have tried to kill Gashkul. At least twice his head has been cut off. But he's back. People keep finding him, fixing him up, and he keeps pushing. You can't bring him down.
Man.
Orcs are real tough.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah, cut his head off. You have someone nearby who can put it back real quick and heal him up, and he'll be back kicking. And boy is he.
Okay, I just returned to that really good one. I'm still doing dishes, but I came back to that good one. I just found out what my number one, what one of my not my number one, what some of my honorable mentions were just now. So, but I heard you talking about Bowser and this orc guy, and he seems very interesting. It seems like a very interesting boss.
Gashkul's my absolute favorite. It literally just funnels down to that. Orcs are my favorite fantasy race. Warhammer 40k orcs are my favorite orcs. And Gashkul is the best orc. If you've ever seen me at Smash tournaments or at other events where my tag is Wah, that's not just the orc battle cry. That's the orc way of life. Wah is the belief of orcs banding together for a giant war. For the great cause of orcs just being better than everything else. And stomping everything else under their boots. The Wah is what Gashkul brings to planets. And when he brings the Wah, you're done. Literally, just planets don't recover.
Yo, that's a really good story.
He's my favorite. Orcs in Warhammer 40k are the comic relief of that universe. They're kind of silly and kind of wacky. But Gashkul presents the full power and threat of the orcs. It's straight up said, the only reason orcs haven't conquered the universe in 40k is because they just can't stick together because they'd be too busy fighting each other. Gashkul's the closest thing they have to stopping that. Going, hey, enough mucking about, we got people to clobber. Come with me. And boy do they.
Come with me and you will see in a world of pure imagination. Basically, a Willy Wonka.
Yep. And ain't no orc gonna say no to him. He's got golden tickets for days.
Exactly.
That's actually one of the things that happened. One planet he went to attack, he literally attacked it and left it almost immediately after, and they were like, "Boss, why'd you leave?" And he said, "That planet, do you know how good the fighting is there? 5 different races are showing up to fight on it. Every orc and their mother is going to hear, hey, did you hear? This planet has 6 armies fighting. We gotta get there and fight." He's like, "I don't even need to be here. The fight will go on without me."
Dang.
And he's dead right. He was able to leave and go pursue his goals elsewhere. And that planet is still embroiled in never-ending war.
I did a story, because I know I have a civil war for 1,000 years in one of my stories. He'd pretty much he'd probably be right at home.
Yep, he'd love it.
He would love it, and then it'll be over. But then you come back 10,000 years later, you see it's oh, holy cow, this still going? Oh, there's another
Perfect, let's
war?
get right back to it.
But yeah, I had another honorable mention. I didn't talk about him he was in my top 8 originally, but I forgot that like I already had like more than 8 villains in there.
Yeah.
This is from my first Korean MMO. Now, not really a big fan of MMOs. I've never been, not even with games like God of War. I mean, not God of War. World of Warcraft, or even other paid subscription MMOs. But this game was my first MMO called Elsword, and the boss is called Burst. If you guys know who that is, and if you guys played that game.
I think
Burst?
you've shown Elsword stuff before in a couple past streams.
Yes, Burst is not only like one of my favorite bosses. He is the only one who knows basically Elsword, the main character, what he is and where he comes from. He's one of the few, and he knows what he represents and everything. And not only that, he fought multiple times. You fight him in the tutorial mode, in Elsword, even in season 1 when the game first came out, and he becomes like the boss of Theta. And you fight him. This boss is trying to take over the world with through the Doom Realm. But then, like when you fight the boss in the tower of the gods, right? Or tower, like where the goddesses worship, you fight this guy, and he's like, there's a demon portal in the top of the tower, and he's just the music that is like that's sung on in there, like the music that's shown there, it's like a final boss music. That's how good he is that's how I feel like if you think of bosses, he's like an example of a villain and a boss, like a final boss villain. And when you fight him again, it's after you get into Doom Realm and you're more powerful than you were in your first or second job. You're like third job and some change, pretty strong. This guy decides to go ahead and come back. And not only does he come back, he has the power he's a traitor of the White Ghost Army, basically. And the person was like a peacekeeper. He was trying to bring peace to her name was Agredit. She was trying to bring peace to like the humans and the demons. And he said, screw that. I'm gonna just go ahead and use your portal and your powers and take your soul, and then use it to go ahead and strengthen myself so I could rule the world and go not just Arios, which is the land. I'm gonna go to heaven and conquer it. And eventually he does die. So after his fight with the White Ghost King in the spirit battle, but he was like he's one of my favorite villains and greatest bosses. So yeah.
Great stuff.
And I think,
do you have a spelling for the name, by the way?
Berthe, Berthe.
Berthe. Okay.
I'm doing. And I got one more. I wanted to say one more thing about Pterodax. I didn't really tell you this, but if you guys heard of Bionicle Matsunui Online, there was a part. It was an online game back in the early 2000s, so way back. So way back then. I was looking at this for lore and stuff. So the Makuta appears to like the heroes, the Toa and like the Chronicler. He appears to them as a small Matorn, which is basically their people, right? And he basically says he is like Matsunui, and this is like before like the lore became actual, like with the spirit robot and all that stuff. He's basically, if Matsunui this is Lego as well, so you gotta think of it with Lego as well. If Matsunui represents order and creation, Makuta represents destruction, and he represents chaos and destruction. So he is neither good nor evil, and that's pretty much what the Makuta was originally. It was originally in that game. he was not really a good person, but he was not really a bad man. You know, it was just an ideal. He was basically the reverse of what Masamune was.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get that point across, but I had to like hurry and rush out, so I didn't really get that in my head at the time. And he like took over the Brotherhood as well. So like he took over like a man. He took over his brother and brother. Like he took over the Brotherhood of the Makuta, except like there's multiple Makuta, and he took it over, and he decided to go ahead and make it like destruction and everything. So that's why I kind of see him as like one of my favorite villains, because he's more than just like a stereotypical Lego antagonist like I've seen before, like you've seen in like some other shows and stuff. He has depth, and that's what I like about him. So yeah, that's I think that's all our villains, huh?
Some good looking lists, I'd say.
Yeah. From Pokemon to like many games I've never heard about, I feel like this was pretty well done.
If you ever want to
this is
hear
really-
some absolutely like crazy lore or anything, just ask me about Warhammer 40k. I've got stories for days. I love that setting, and then orcs in it are the best. If you ever want to hear me ramble, there's your topic.
And yeah, I mean, I don't play Elsword as much anymore because of like the monetization's gone disgustingly bad. I mean, they tried to do it, but it's like, you know, they try to make it better, but it's not, you know, the management team is stuck. But I could tell you some bits of lore from Elsword as well. So, it's pretty much like an anime RPG, so it's not that big. It's just like what you just told me about Warhammer. So
Yeah.
Yeah, this is I just wanted to say that this was a really good idea, Tim.
Yeah, I thought this would be a topic that would have like a lot of variance in it, because like villains, it's about specifically like the things you would want interesting for plot reasons and character traits you'd find interesting. So I thought this would be something where people would have like different lists and things they'd want to talk about. So I'm glad it paid off.
Also, you kind of have villains that just like a hero is a hero regardless, but everyone loves a great villain. And
Yeah.
not every villain's going to be like the public eye's opinion, but it's also going to be like your opinion of like what a great villain is. Like it could be even your dark. It could be like what you represent, like what you fear you will represent. Or something
Yeah,
that.
like there's a lot more like personal attachment or feelings to villains than there is to heroes, it seems.
Well, it does happen like that, and I think it's because like villains, you don't see the other side, you know. You don't like, see the other side of the villain. Some villains you get to see the other side of through like their stories, but like, you know, I mean you see all the good villains do that, but it's like some villains you have to really look hard to see what makes them go ahead and do all these bad things, because that's just how we look at it, you know? What makes you go bad? We know what makes you go good, but what makes you go bad? That's how I think of it. Also, we gotta do that Star Wars podcast, I don't know when, because I gotta gush about, I don't like Steve, like I said, I don't like Steve Palpatine as a character, but god dang it, if there's a character who you have to, I don't know, you have to respect and be like, this guy, honestly, I'd be scared of him too. It's gotta be this guy. He's just too good. And I think it's because the guy who's behind the actor that's it. Okay, I gotta stop.
We'll be here forever.
We'll be here forever. We don't need that. And B-Boy needs to sleep. Everybody
And
yeah. Go ahead.
sorry if I keep interrupting. Oh, okay. So, I just wanted to say that I'm definitely down for a Star Wars podcast, a Naruto podcast, and I was also thinking, didn't you do? I think this was before I started, joining these streams regularly. Didn't you do some kind of fast food tier list or something like that, or top burgers or something like that?
He has done some sillier tier lists before.
Yeah.
Because I remember he also did like an alignment chart for like certain people in the scene too, and then like another list that was like how he feels fighting them in brackets and stuff, and like who's super serious or who's someone you play for fun or who's someone that you don't know how serious they play. Like, there's been things like that before. It hasn't always just been like lists like these.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because I was thinking, maybe we could do like a restaurants. Wait, I have a question. Are you from like Fresno or something, or are you two from Fresno, or are you from like another city? In sense.
I'm from Northern California. I can't really tell you that information, but I can tell you.
Of course, yeah.
I understand.
Give us your address and social security number live on stream.
I'm just saying,
I'll tell you this. I'm not too far from San Francisco. That's all I can say.
Gotcha.
Okay. I was just gonna say maybe like top 10 restaurants or something like that. If there's something like that.
Oh, wow.
Always do something a little sillier than the usual stuff. It's an option.
Oh
Yeah.
That's cool, cause like I was like, oh shoot, I was on Swagbucks doing surveys on like restaurants I went and gone through. I was like, okay, maybe I can just do that. Do that.
Yeah. I figure, SenCal is like so many people there, or NorCal or SoCal, you're not really giving that much, of course we don't,
We got space.
We don't want to give away addresses or something like that, but I figure it's a general area, it's still, where there's a lot of people, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal.
Right.
Oh wait, hold on, we forgot who was the greatest antagonist in this area, in the greatest villain ever, B-Boy.
Oh,
The true villain.
I don't think we should. Well, I mean, if you want to do another stream, I mean, that's your decision to make. But in all honesty, I'm not going to participate in that stream if it's there. That's that's too much tension, in my opinion.
No, I was joking. I was not.
The greatest villain of all, the person we're talking to.
Or is the villain the friends we make along the way?
His great evil is known by asking people to pre-reg and make everyone's day easier. How dare he?
Okay, but seriously, I was like, maybe the greatest villain is the friends we make along the way.
The best villain of all time was the friends we made along the way.
See, that should be like a joke. That should be the greatest joke. I don't even know
Make
why.
an edit of that One Piece panel. The greatest villain does exist.
It's the friends we make along the way. But yeah, this was a really good talk. Getting late. Shoot.
It's mad late. I talked about orcs on stream. I'm happy. I got to talk about 40k again.
We got to talk about orcs. Next time we got to talk about dwarves.
Dwarves are alright.
Dang.
Better than elves.
Hey. Well, hold on, because one of my favorite characters in Elsword are elves.
I don't like
Fine.
elves. They're snobby and think they're better than me.
Unfortunately, elves are. Okay, hold on. This is rated PG, but they've been looted too many times. That's the unfortunate part.
Fair enough.
That's the unfortunate part, and I was like, really, you guys? Are elves always been like this? Like everybody, when I ask people some days, but we're gonna stop right there.
Alright. Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching. Sub to B-Boy. He's the man.
Yes, sub to be
Right.
Sonic.
Get your channel points saved up and sub so that he doesn't delete the bad words section.
And
I
also
have
he has battle
70k
cry.
points saved, and I'm still waiting for a good moment. But he's gonna remove the rewards, and then I won't be able to, and these points will be for nothing.
Make sure you get the Ara Ara too and the battle cry, because that's also one of my faves as well.
I'll agree with the battle cry, but if you touch Aura, I will be very afraid.
Actually, I don't like you. I can't see B-Boy saying curse words. I can't see B-Boy saying them.
Please support the band. Good night, everybody.
Wait, Nasai.
I'm heading out of the voice chat now. I've got to get my battle set up. Talking
Alright,
about villains, y'all.
alright.
Good
I gotta
nothing. Bye.
Good night.
night. I gotta listen to some. I'm gonna probably read some Tsukihime, like the OG. Wait for the money to come to my bank tomorrow. Wait for my paycheck, and then I'm gonna buy this remake. Alright, B-Boy. Have a good night. Don't talk to strangers.